Just a good feeling. They take that next step.
And the Pacers select.
It is Championship Thursday, Kevin Bowen. It's Championship Thursday, James Boyd. Kyle and Tally, I know you're fired up and excited. You've been up since like 3 o'clock in the morning getting ready for this show.
I think Kylan had a special intro there. Can we hear it?
Yeah,
Kylan?
we did it.
Can you fire that up by chance? I mean, this is game day here.
Let's go.
What's up, y'all? Good morning. Happy playoffs.
Pacers fans in Indianapolis have waited for this game.
I'm just ready to go.
Just a good feeling. They take that next step.
And the Pacers select Reggie Miller of UCLA.
When you get this kind of emotion over a basketball team, you know, and all the people that contributed all this time and everything, it's just out of sight, you know. This thing has rejuvenated Indianapolis.
Miller steps back and delivers another three. Reggie Miller with another dagger. The Indiana Pacers on their way to the NBA Finals for the first time in their history.
Congratulations to the Indiana Pacers. Well deserved. The best team all year. They proved it during the regular season and during the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
Gotta continue that tonight.
The challenge will be more difficult tonight.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Well, let's do it again, just like we did in 2000. Only this time, let's come home with a win after a 7-game series, however long it takes. Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the home of the Indiana Pacers here on radio. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We're excited to be here today. As a matter of fact, Kevin, taking a page out of your playbook a little bit. I've had this thing for like 5 years. Pacers gave it to me. It's one of those things that you display, but you don't really wear. But I'm busting it out, and I'm wearing it today on the show. We good with that?
I thought you were going shirt off.
No. I'm not going to do that to anybody.
Oh, okay.
I would not do that to anybody.
All right.
You don't want to sit next to me with a shirt off, do you?
No, you gotta.
Every
I'm
time
all
I
in,
come
baby.
in.
I was thinking
we got
either
a
shirt
Rickard.
off
It's the
or
Rickard.
The Pacers presented that to me 5 years ago. And
Okay.
Look
Number
at that.
one, like
I'm
Obi
going
Toppin.
there, man.
Okay.
Some might say Obi Toppin, some might go back to Steven Jackson.
Obi might
right?
have bigger hops than I do.
Just a little bit.
He might have bigger hops than I do, but that's where we're going.
Jeff Rickard looks like he come
How
off
about
the
that?
bench and give you a little 9 minutes of a quality stint here.
I can
I
go
told
T.J.
you.
McConnell for 94 feet, but that's it. I got nothing else for
I'm
you.
about to say we need 6 fouls on SGA.
Here's the thing at this point in time, too. Guys my age can tell you this. I'm good when you put me in, but if you take me out after 5 minutes, that's it. I'm done. My body is not coming back.
You're just going straight to the shower.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, no, we're excited. I know the city is excited. We've put aside some time for you guys to just express yourselves and get ready to go for Game 1 tonight. We're going to talk to the NBA's play-by-play voice on ESPN Radio, Marc Kestecher, a little bit later on. Kesty will join us from Oklahoma City, and we'll talk about how things are going. And despite it taking about 5 hours on what should have been a 1.5-hour flight to Oklahoma City, I think the Pacers are ready to go, KB. I think they're as good as they're going to be at this point in time. Let's get it.
Here we go. Boy, it's been a long wait. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it just feels different than the other professional sports leagues in their championship wait. It's been a long 5 days. I guess when you get into the Major League Baseball cycle, you play every night or every other night. And now here we are. Seemingly on a 2-month playoff run, but that's what it's been. So cannot wait. The city of Indianapolis, I think, is ready. I believe yesterday afternoon we had traffic backed up from Gamebridge Fieldhouse to north of the library here downtown. That's about 10 or 11 stoplights, city blocks for those unfamiliar. Everything just to get a little free swag bag. I'm curious what was in the swag bag.
Somebody call us up and tell us.
Every fifth bag had tickets to the finals because I could not believe that traffic. Had people backed up. I believe it was for the first 4,000 fans. It was an absolute just zoo downtown. And at one point yesterday, I had Kristen Airy call me twice in 10 minutes. I'm thinking to myself, Kristen Airy needs a game more than anything. I love talking to Kristen Airy. Again, he's my 5th grade basketball coach. He was moving his son Max into the Fountain Square area. All of a sudden, Kristen Airy, he's just calling to chat. He is just calling
outstanding.
to chat. And I love talking with the man, but I thought to myself, this dude needs a game more than anything. And luckily, 13 and a half hours from now, we will have a game.
Yeah, the sleep. You said yesterday, 1 sleep away. Well, we got our 1 sleep, and here we are. Now here's the thing, and I don't know what it's like for you when you were playing high school basketball, but when I would get up in the morning and I had a big race, and maybe it didn't start until noon or whatever, and my body was normally getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, like it just took forever to get to game time, whether it was baseball, whether it was cycling, whether it was in college for football games that were at night. It just took forever to get there, James.
Yeah, I mean, we were sorry in high school, so I never really had too much anticipation to get to the game. But
I was hoping you were going to go with comparing the high school to Game 1 of the NBA Finals there.
Well, I compared myself to Nikola Jokic in my 36 points in an intramural game in college. So.
And there's no
right.
Caruso guarding you.
Yeah, it's all the same, But I am excited for tonight. It should be a very good environment. I had a joy, honestly, just getting out of the media sessions from yesterday and watching some of those and trying to, get my fix there. And so hearing Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, Pascal, hearing from Rick Carlisle, he's telling stories about, his trips to the finals as a player and things like that. I was like, wow, this is all cool. And I certainly learned, I think, a bit more about the players that I see often. But like you guys, I'm like, all right, I've learned enough here. It's time to play.
Well, what'd you learn from that yesterday is the question. Anything that you didn't know going in?
No, I mean, a lot of it had to do with, Rick's background. I think every time he opens his mouth and kind of talks about his upbringing or where he used to be 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I'm like, oh, wow, you did this, you did that. He's lived a very unique life. And honestly, if it comes to that part one day where he gets the biography, I think it'll be very interesting because he always has these little nuggets. You know this, Kevin, where you're like, wait, what? Your parent did this? Your brother did this? And so that's always cool to me. And then obviously hearing from Tyrese, and he's saying, we can't go away from this team. We can't run away from this team. We have to go through them if we want to be the best team in the league. And so he's very confident, excited for the opportunity. And obviously the fan base here is very excited as well.
KB, one of the things that they'll be doing tonight, both teams, that I'm really fascinated to watch is the Pacers have been so good, led by Tyrese Halliburton, at not turning the ball over. Got a little sloppy at times against the Knicks, but they were okay. Oklahoma City thrives on turning you over and getting you going. It is imperative that Halliburton not have one of those off nights, but that he continues to take care of the basketball. Every possession is going to matter for the Pacers in this series.
Yeah, and I think it's like whose unique trait can assert themselves in a more significant manner. Is it the length and the depth of the Oklahoma City defense, or is it the exceptional ball movement of the Pacers and the pace that they're willing to play with? They're willing to run just as much as Oklahoma City wants to run. I thought Marc Dagnall had some interesting comments regarding the Pacers yesterday. He made the baseball analogy of, yeah, we can talk about it, but we still have to get in the batter's box and face 99 miles per hour. And you can't script that in practice. You can't. Your scout team can't whip it around the horn like Tyrese Halliburton can. And if I could take that baseball analogy a step further, it's not only 99 miles per hour in inning 1, but it's 99 in inning 7. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think makes the Pacers super unique is teams, hey, we're going to play with great pace. And then they get the first media timeout. They're like, damn, I need some Gatorade. And well, I'm not going to be able to match that. The Pacers continue to do that for 48 minutes. And their second unit does it as well. So, that's obviously a huge angle. But just more than anything, I'm just ready. I'm just ready for it to go. And cannot wait for tonight. We should update you if you have not been outside here on this Thursday morning. It is ugly. It is raining. Matt Baer shared from traffic WIBC. I-70 eastbound sounds like a bit of a gridlock. 3 semis wrecked here recently. So if you head out of the city or travel on the east side, I-70 to the Greenfield area, you've got a pretty significant backup. So a little FYI on your Thursday morning commute, as Mother Nature has said she's sick and tired of the long wait. Ooh. So she decided to rear her ugly head as we await.
Have you looked at the 10-day forecast?
More rain?
Like 7 of the 10 days, it looks like.
Really?
So I don't know.
I went and looked at game days. And I'm so serious.
It's good. All right, we will get you checked down coming up in a moment here. We'll open up the phone lines a little bit later on. You can talk to us about your experience. I know there are a couple people who want to talk about the weight and what they got in their swag bag, and we'll get back to that coming up in a few minutes. But it is game day tonight, 8:30. Pacers, Thunder, more next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Welcome to Championship Thursday here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. KB, JB, Jeff, Kylan Talley in today. Here's what's happening as we get set to go. You may have heard, Kevin Bowen, that the Indiana Pacers will be playing a basketball game later on tonight. What can you tell us about that game?
8:30 ABC. Our coverage will begin here at 8 o'clock. They are a significant underdog injury report-wise. Nothing too, I guess, stunning by any means on that. Sound like Aaron Nesmith very much appreciated the rest. He's not on the injury report with that ankle. Jarris Walker is out. Tony Bradley questionable. I think Thomas Bryant deserves those backup minutes, though. But, obviously we saw them flip-flop that a little bit there in the Knicks series. And Thunder really have nothing of note on the injury report. So, yeah, two pretty healthy bunches here going into tonight.
And, James, I know you were riveted by the press conferences that both teams had yesterday. Anything you want to share from those other than Rick just having a very interesting life?
I mean, I don't know if riveted. I guess I was because I was fiending for something. But I did get a little nugget from SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, saying that he's played against Andrew Nembhard since he was 9. I was like, wow. So imagine playing in youth basketball with somebody and seeing him in the NBA Finals over a decade later.
And Dort and Mathurin are best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a heavy Canadian connection, overlap between these two teams.
All right. Well, we hope that Benedict gets the last laugh. That's what we're hoping there right now. Anyway, that one starts at 8:30, as Kevin said. Pregame coverage on the network begins at 8. JMB's going straight through, 3 to 8 tonight. So that'll be kind of fun, and he's got some special things planned, and we'll get you ready to go as well. Also, as the series goes along, I can tell you, and we're working on specifics right now, that JMV will be out and about to mingle with everybody. Jake's going to have some watch parties. We've got some things coming up.
What about
all of us are going to be in. Nobody wants to wake up early and do stuff with us.
Are we just stuck in this closet?
Hey, I pitched us for 48 straight hours yesterday.
Game 3 Wednesday, Game 5 Friday. Let's go to a coffee shop.
I said I gave him a list of people they need to contact.
James Boy can drink a latte or two.
We're going to go. I'm there. I'm up for it. I'll do it on the circle. Let's go.
We need Jeff to filibuster for us.
I was getting side-eye by the end of the day yesterday. Yeah, we got it. We're working on it. So we'll see what they come up with here today. Also in basketball last night, the Indiana All-Stars played, seniors and juniors. The juniors win at 117-114. Any guesses as to who the leading scorer and dominant player in the game was?
Sounds like Luke Ertl went off again.
Yeah, 36 points for Luke Ertl last night.
I've seen the kid play in person, and he is phenomenal. I cannot wait to watch a couple of his games, if not more than a couple of his games during his senior season. He is my favorite to win Mr. Basketball, which isn't a hot take. The kid is very good. Going to Purdue next year.
All right, so the Indiana Fever off last night. They won't play again until Saturday night when they play at Chicago. That's an 8 p.m. start. And KB, that was one of those games that the Chicago Sky moved to a much bigger arena to accommodate Caitlin Clark. She's probably not going to be playing in that game.
She will not be playing in that game. She will talk with the media today. It is her first time chatting since she has been sidelined with this quad. I don't read into that, I think, too much. It's not like she's back practicing. Her next availability will be after her next full practice. So, again, it was a 2-week timetable that will carry through at least Saturday night with the Chicago Sky.
All right. Last night, guys, was Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Edmonton Oilers trying to break that long Canadian drought for a championship, going up against the defending champion, Florida Panthers. Edmonton got on the board first, led it 1-0. Then Florida scored 3 straight. Edmonton scratches back to tie it and force overtime. And Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl might be the 2 best players in the series. They demonstrated why.
Here's McDavid. Oh, score! Leon Draisaitl! The Oilers win Game 1.
The Oilers win Game 1. They were at home, and they have a 1-0 advantage against the Florida Panthers. We'll see how that series all plays out. And, James, you were saying you were locked into that a little bit last night.
Yeah, I got a friend. She is a diehard hockey fan, and so she said, hey, 10 minutes left, tie game, overtime, whatever. Turn it on. You'll enjoy it. And I did. It was very intense. I was thinking to myself, if you're emotionally invested in either team, this is the worst in the world when you wake up if you're a Panthers fan. And obviously, if you're a Connor McDavid fan and a fan of the Oilers, you're feeling pretty good this morning. And obviously, I think Connor McDavid has been through so much heartbreak in some of these big games. And so he is someone that I am certainly rooting for to get it done and get what he really doesn't have on his resume, which is just a Stanley Cup trophy.
You also said that you can see now why people get all stressed out over the Stanley Cup Finals. You didn't even have a team involved, and you were getting stressed out.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I'm glad that I've chosen the journalism route because fandom would just age me.
Kevin, I know you've watched hockey a little bit in the past, but there's something special to me about the Stanley Cup because there's so much on the line, and things just happen in an instant. Like you could be out playing the other team and tilting the ice completely to one side, make one little mistake and a turnover, and boom, somebody like Connor McDavid puts it in the back of the net. Next thing you know, doesn't matter. You dominated for the last 45, 60 minutes. You're going home with a loss.
Poor Brendan King and the Panthers faithful that are out there. But, boy, can you imagine Oilers fans and the ebbs and flows of last night? You get game one on your home ice. You're down 3-1. And after last year and how that series played out. But they're able to come back and win game one there. So it's been how many years since the Canadian team?
I want to say, top of my head, don't swear to it, 36,
Really?
I want to say.
I know
Somewhere
it's been a
in there.
long
We'll check
time.
that out.
So for me, I would say
Scotty will check that out in a break.
there's part of me that thinks Edmonton deserves a hockey title more than the state of Florida deserves another hockey title.
It's just it's not the Avalanche. That's all I can tell you. So at least I'm not that much on edge. I can tell you that. All right, Major League Baseball last night. Milwaukee Brewers had the hitting sticks out. They beat up on the Cincinnati Reds by a score of 9-1. We'll gloss past that, Kevin, and tell you that the Cubs were shut out by the Washington Nationals. So you got that going for you today.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that right there. Also, we can tell you St. Louis Cardinals and the Royals were postponed because of conditions that look a lot like what we have outside right now. It was just raining too hard. They couldn't get it done. Soccer last night, Indy 11 gets a win. Their second of the year. They beat Birmingham by a score of 1-0. The Indianapolis Indians last night, they got their hitting sticks out. They beat Memphis by a score of 10-3. What was that? I thought maybe it was a Mark Dykton shot at Kevin there. Wasn't quite sure.
Sounds like that's what that was.
Yeah, Indy beat Memphis 10-3. They'll play again tonight, 8:05 in Memphis. Anything else you want to throw in? I know Colts, you guys will be out there a little bit later on today, right?
Yeah, this afternoon, I would assume, given how Mother Nature has looked this morning, that we'll be indoors for a second straight week. But yes, a second OTA viewing here. Then we'll watch the entire minicamp next week. And that'll be it. A week from today, it's over. The Colts spring offseason program. And then about a month-ish break until training camp at Grand Park.
Are we going to take passing stats down today, or how are we going to do this?
Yes, it's
Okay.
my job, and I will be the sicko that does it. Kevin Bowen, you'll be there with me, and I'll be asking you, hey, was that completed to number 1 or number 11? So be ready.
And just to reiterate, I-70 eastbound closed between Mount Comfort and State Road 9 due to a 3-semi crash.
Oh, wow.
So US 40, I think, will be your option there. Fortunately, we've got that option. But yes, if you are an east side traveler or outside of the metro area here on this Thursday morning, beware of that.
All right, good information to have. We'll get you all ready to go for Game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder later on tonight. Next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good job again, Kylan Talley. Immediately, JB in my head just started bopping. KB's lost in research over there to the left. How you doing, man?
This is like it's a pretty like day of game sports anthem, is it not?
It is. It is going to be a good night. By the way, Scotty chiming in, 1992-93, Montreal Canadiens, the last Canadian team to win, so 32 years.
That's very surprising to me.
Patrick Waugh was the goaltender for the Canadiens at that point in time.
So they haven't won. A Canadian team hasn't won since before I was born. That is amazing to me because of the popularity of the sport in the country. Wow.
Well, it's not like you just have one team, too. I mean,
Right.
you've got, what, a handful of teams?
The Raptors.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Toronto, who's just disappointed every single year at some point in time.
Well, maybe this is the year. Connor McDavid, he's someone who
we're
was good
rooting,
enough to break that curse.
You'd say the Canadians matter more for the Thunder than the Pacers, right? So you're rooting against the Canadians here? Is that right?
I want the Canadians to win.
But if we're spinning it to the NBA Finals, we're largely rooting against the Canadians. You would rather have the combination of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lou Dort play bad than Benedict Mather and Andrew Nembhard play bad, right?
I see where you're going, and I can sign off on that, yes.
James, I'm a little worried about the Dort-Halliburton thing because I just think Dort's a different animal. He is Mikal Bridges, for example, guarded Tyrese last round. What is Mikal Bridges? Long, length, height. Lou Dort is more of that dude could go out and start a defensive end for the Colts. I mean, he is big, physical. So I think it's a little bit. Even Max Strus the previous round, like they might show up on the roster as like similar weights, but Dort is just. It's a little bit Aaron Nesmith like, honestly, if you want to kind of compare how he defends. And again, this is an all NBA first teamer. So that whistle in this series, how much they allow Dort to get away with in that Halliburton matchup. If you want to look back at those two regular season games, Halliburton had two, I would say, rather quiet games for his exceptional play. I think it's a big deal starting tonight.
I think it's also the opposite when it comes to SGA and Aaron Nesmith. Talk about physicality. What will the refs allow? Because we know Aaron likes to be physical. He likes to get up in your chest and all those things. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the best, quote-unquote, foul merchants, as they say, foul drawers in the league. So I do wonder, if just from a baseline physicality standpoint, how will they call it? And as we always would like to see as fans, whatever way you call it, be consistent about it throughout the entire game. Like, I don't want to see Tyrese getting mugged in the first quarter and then the fourth quarter comes and we see some ticky-tack call that, chops with the game. So we'll see. That is certainly something to weigh, but I think that one of the keys will be to maybe not allowing Lou Dort to take Tyrese completely out of the game, would be getting stops on the defensive end. That way they're not able to set up their half-court defense and really just, get everything kind of in place before Tyrese has to attack him. If they can get out and run a little bit, get a couple made baskets in transition, maybe that'll open things up a little bit. But either way, this is the challenge, Tyrese. You're considered one of the best players in the league. No disappearing acts this series.
Yeah, and one of the things they're going to have to do defensively, too, is all playoff long. There's a reason he's the MVP. Gilgeous-Alexander can get to the basket. He can score almost when he wants to in this playoffs. He's been tremendous.
You know what's crazy? Hearing Rick Carlisle say this the other day at practice, and Kevin, you were there, he's like, yeah, a guy's great when he scored 30 points every night for 2 straight years. And that is, when he puts it like that, I'm like, dang, like that's the best thing in the world. You're putting up 30. 30 is a career day for most guys in the NBA, and he makes it look routine. So to your point, Jeff, yes. To me, he'll probably still get that 30. It's like, but can you force him to do it on 35 shots and not, having 11, 12, 13, 14 free throws?
Yeah, I think the 2 regular season games, he had 45 and 33 against Indiana, so it took it even to another level. I want to go back to the Halliburton thing for just a second, and I think this falls in the general optimism category if you're a Pacer fan. The Pacers just won an Eastern Conference Finals series on the road in 6 games. And I would argue Halliburton and even Siakam, they were at their best for just half the games. Now, they were really, when they were on, they were really, really good.
Balling.
But they kind of just passed the torch to each other. It was like, hey, Halliburton game 1. Hey, Siakam game 2. Hey, Halliburton game 3. Like, it was kind of wild how it was just like, here you go. Here you go. Oh, no, it's your turn to be the lead guy. Nope, it's your turn to be the lead guy. What if that turns from 50% to 75%? What if that turns, obviously the dream would be
100.
They play well in every game, but let's just be realistic going against this defense. If they give you all NBA level for more than half the games, I think that, again, falls in the optimism category because you're going to have to rise your level of play. And really, the Pacers, others, I would argue, have done that for the most part. There's been a little bit of a lull here for Nembhard. Maybe Turner didn't have a great series, but you got a different bar when you're talking about your other players in the postseason. I think for the most part, the Pacers have gotten exactly what they could have realistically hoped for. If you can get Halliburton and or Siakam to get that one notch higher, they both were really good individually. But again, there's a reason why they pretty much split the vote for that Eastern Conference MVP. It's because they both kind of had just a half of a dominant Eastern Conference Finals. If either of them can get it to that next level, that's when I think those in Vegas start to sweat, and we got a real series on our hands.
Well, the great thing that we know about the Indiana Pacers, when they're firing on all cylinders, they just keep swinging and hitting you from every direction. Like when they've got it going on, to your point, Kevin, if they could get both Siakam and Halliburton to go at the same time, now you get good games at the same time, and I know I'm asking a lot here for everybody, but you get going with Nembhard, with Nesmith, with Miles. You come off the bench with Obi Toppin, who's done well. You had Bryant the other night hitting threes all over the place. You can get three of those guys and full speed ahead for the other two. That could be tough for any team to deal with in the NBA.
Certainly, and I wonder, they play so much team basketball, which is obviously how you would like to play, sharing the basketball. But I wonder if you're going to need, not hero ball, but some hero moments where this is why I think SGA and other players that I consider to be in his tier, like the first team All-NBA guys, they can go get you a bucket when you need it. And it's not always a play or conceptual philosophy. It's my guy's better than your guy, and we're going to win because I'm better than you. And will that require some moments of that from Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, where I'm not saying you go out there and ball hog and jack up every shot, but when it gets a little, hey, they push it to 8 points, does Siakam say, hey, I got to go get us a few buckets to keep us in this thing? And so just that ebb and flow of, not, again, being selfish, but being a bit more assertive when you have to be to keep your team just within striking distance. Because I will always say this, just based off what I've seen from the Pacers this season, if it's close, they're fine because they execute very well when it's close. It's just, can you keep it there and keep it tethered enough to pressure on them as well?
And that's how I started off Monday, James. Put Oklahoma City in unproven situations. They have not had many clutch games this year. It's a huge credit to them. They just dust these teams. They go full Oklahoma Thunder Blue, that's their G League team, to end games because they're just kicking their ass, really, game in and game out. The Tony East stat that he shared with us
that was crazy.
Earlier in the week, they have more double-digit wins than the Pacers have wins this season. So my question, and I don't want it to sound like a soft goal. Like, I think it's a legitimate goal of, in this series, make every game a clutch game. And a clutch game is defined by within 5 minutes, it's a 5-point game or less.
Yes,
if you
that's
can
hard, though,
do
man.
I know it's hard, but if you can do that, you have thrived. I'm talking about the Pacers. Mm-hmm. They have thrived in the clutch, especially here as of late. The Thunder, we don't know. Sure, they've had some clutch games in these playoffs, and for the most part, they've done fairly well. But I want them to have to prove it. They've proven themselves on so many different levels this season. Can you deliver in the clutch on an NBA Finals stage? That if the Pacers can apply that pressure to them night in, night out, in OKC, here in Indy, I mean, they have absolutely blown the doors off of teams in their own building here in the playoffs. If you can create the nervy moments, the Oregon Rising a little bit here, the race car theme in Indy sounds a little different when you're playing defense. Those defense chants a little bit louder when Game 3 comes around on Wednesday. If you can do that, I think that is a huge ask for the blueprint that is necessary to try and pull off this upset.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I was playing around last night, and so I decided to say if ChatGPT would break down the teams by clutch. Now, here's the thing you need to know about ChatGPT. You have to be very specific about what you ask it, because originally they included like Buddy Hield in the equation. I said, no, throw that out, and I gave them the right players, and I gave them the right teams and games and everything like that. And finally, after messing around with it, this is what it came back with. Based on the NBA's definition of clutch situations, games with a 5-point differential inside the final 5 minutes, the Indiana Pacers have statistically outperformed Oklahoma City across nearly every key metric. They're 23-10 in those games this year. The Thunder were 20-13. A clutch offensive rating, the Pacers were 121.3, Oklahoma City 117.8. Defensive rating for the Pacers, 105.7 compared to 109.2. I won't go through all of them here, but virtually every clutch statistic you can find, the Pacers outperformed Oklahoma City this year. And we talked all week long about if there was one thing we were interested in seeing about Oklahoma City, how are their young players who've never experienced this kind of a stage and a coach who's never experienced this kind of stage, how would they fare in these tight situations? And maybe that's the key for the Pacers. Keep it close until the end and then do your thing.
There is nothing in the 4 days that we've done shows this week, there is nothing that says we need to play this damn game more than we're asking chat bleeping GBT.
I was bored.
For
You were watching stuff yesterday.
We're dialing up chat GBT, which is throwing Buddy Hield. When's the last time Buddy Hield played for the Pacers?
Like I said, every time I do
Did they
chat
throw
BT,
Kiefer Sykes in there? Did they get Gogo Batadze and Greg Foster getting
tried.
into it?
We tried, and that's the thing about
Dear
ChatGPT.
Lord, 8:30.
You
Can
have
you
to
please
be really
come
specific.
quicker?
Really specific. So
one thing I did
go.
find interesting yesterday, I was actually on the commute in, and I dialed up the podcast of LeBron and Steve Nash. And I emailed it to Kylan. I go, Kylan, it's a great clip from LeBron on Tyrese Halliburton. I mean this in all seriousness, because I know a lot of people have disdain towards LeBron in this market or have just general national media sort of disdain. Please wait until 10:01 if you don't mind. The LeBron Steve Nash podcast from yesterday is a 50-minute listen where they talk Pacers for like 85% of it. And it is glowing in their and I think, like, again, put your LeBron hate to the side. Steve Nash and LeBron both love the game of basketball. Love it. And they love nerding out over the game of basketball. And they have a very genuine appreciation for the Pacers and their style. If Kristen Area was going to call me a third time yesterday, I was going to say to him, man, you don't want to talk to me. Listen to LeBron. Listen to Steve Nash in this podcast. This was LeBron very early in the podcast describing his Olympic teammate, Tyrese Halliburton.
Just a great person, man. Great kid. I mean, didn't matter if he was playing or if he got the opportunity. He was the same guy every single day, and you could see that his mainframe was soaking in all the knowledge and the details, being around all of us, and he was just super appreciative every single day. Never changed his mood. When we had practices and we were doing 5-on-5 and maybe, it was a practice where some of the older guys didn't go that day, he was ready to go. If it was a moment in the game where he was called, he was ready to go. But just a great kid, like every single day, was the same person, joking, laughing, high-spirited, someone that you look at what's going on with the Pacers throughout the regular season and now throughout the postseason, you get it. You get why they are the team they are. And it starts with the head of the snake. We know that. And that's what Hallie, I mean, you can gravitate and bring energy and love and would run through a wall for certain guys. And he's a guy that you would do that for because of how he plays the game, I've seen, a couple guys was like, they're going into a hostile environment, you shouldn't have a smile on his face. I'm like, this is who he is. Like, why are we always trying to change people because of this is what you say, the narrative, or this guy should look like this, or this guy should, like, everyone's preparation is different. Everybody is different, but Hallie is one of them ones, and, the success is not happening just because just came out the blue. It's happening because of Hallie and that team. They're built perfectly for that group.
That's beautiful to hear. Just people like that talking about what the Pacers are, what they've become. Halliburton being recognized by peers as a really special basketball player. That lends weight to what we talk about every day.
Absolutely. You had a chance to, similar to this podcast, not obviously in this setting, but I did ask LeBron about Tyrese after the tip-in when they had so long ago, and he said some of the same things and how he enjoyed Tyrese's perspective on the game, his joy he plays with. Even Steve Kerr during All-Star Weekend a couple of years ago, I was able to ask him about Tyrese, and he said his joy reminds him of Steph Curry and the way he approaches the game. So sometimes, I'll take the blame for it. Our poll in The Athletic, the overrated stuff, and silly things like that can control the narrative. But when you hear from people who are going to be etched in the game's memory, LeBron James, Steve Kerr, these are Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. And so I enjoy hearing that perspective and hearing them kind of give the guys flowers while I can still smell them, because it is a lot to deal with. And I think the way that Tyrese has kind of grown up since arriving in Indiana speaks to his just overall basketball IQ. And really, I think that's his superpower, is that he thinks the game out better than most. Because if you listen to the rest of the podcast, Steve Nash was saying he's not the most physical guy, not going to physically impose you, but he's going to talk his talk and also back it up with some of the best and most brilliant plays you'll see.
Kevin, you talked about Lou Dort a lot this morning. How does Holly attack him? How do the Pacers deal with him?
Well, I am curious about that whistle because, again, James brought this up. Shea is much more willing to attack downhill and get to the foul line. And, Aaron Nesmith guards in a physical manner. I'm assuming Nesmith gets the start. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Nembhard on him in the early going. That's not necessarily Halliburton's MO. I mean, I'd have to look it up, but I'd be willing to guess Shea averages a good amount more free throws a game than Halliburton does. So I think the big thing, though, is you have got to drive Dort enough to, again, just stress the Thunder defenders. And maybe that involves a little bit more picks to kind of free up Halliburton to get him downhill. I said to you guys yesterday, and I think all of us maybe had different answers, but my biggest, and I know we throw out the who's the X factor of the series all the time here. To me, it's Nembhard, because I expect Dort to limit Halliburton to a degree. And if and when that happens, to me, the other facilitator, the other main, driver of the lead guard, it falls into Nembhard's lap, and you need Game 6 Nembhard. And you're going to ask him to do some stuff on the other end of the floor, too. So it is a big ask, but I think that is very critical in this series, that you can get Nembhard to be the guy that you saw in Game 6 versus the guy that you saw for a large chunk of that Knicks series.
Ask Jalen Brunson what he thinks of Andrew Nembhard these days. How about that Game 6 the other night?
Good point. Very good point. But Jalen Brunson ain't SGA. So it's levels to this. And like I said, and like we heard from Tyrese Halliburton, he was saying you can't go around. You can't go the opposite direction. You can't hide. You got to go through this team. And so they'll have an opportunity to do so here in about 12 hours.
It's going to be a lot of fun as we get ready for Game 1 tonight. 8:30 is when they'll tip it off. J&B is going to take his show straight through to 8 o'clock tonight and then pass it off to the Pacers radio network. Pat Boylan will have all of that stuff for you. We spoke to him yesterday. We'll talk to Marc Kestecher, who's going to be doing the play-by-play on NBA radio for ESPN Radio NBA a little bit later on tonight. So that'll be interesting. That'll be at 9:30 this morning. I still think, and I don't know how much this translates to being on the court, that you can never tell that, but I do like having Rick Carlisle on the bench in any NBA Finals right now. I'll tell you that.
You believe in the Thunder haven't faced quality coaches yet? Interim coach in round 1, interim coach in round 2, Chris Finch in round 3. Now they have a Hall of Famer on the opposing bench here in Rick Carlisle. You view that as a big advantage to the Pacers?
I think it's an advantage. Again, players still have to go out and play the game.
Yeah,
I mean, you could be the best coach in the world, but if your players are just overwhelmed by better talent and better play, there's not much you can do about it. But in these, don't kid yourself. We talked about all these clutch situations all week long. That's preparation. That's putting guys in comfortable positions. Yes, it has a lot to do with their individual makeup, but I think clutch situations points to coaching a little bit too, don't you think, James?
Yes, absolutely. You put your players in a position to succeed and feel confident, and then you gain confidence, obviously, as you continue to stack more wins in those situations. So I am curious to see how the Pacers will kind of come out in this game. The Thunder as well, because will there be some nerves, some jitters? How long does that take? Everyone talks about that first win. Like, you get so excited and so amped up. Your adrenaline is actually probably a little bit higher because you're not used to playing on that stage and having so much energy. And I think after, like, that first TV timeout, Jeff, we'll probably see both teams settle in more than maybe early on, where it could be a little ugly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some clanking, off the rim and things like that, because players are just so juiced up.
it will be interesting to see how the game starts out. You're on the road. Obviously, you want to take the crowd out of it as soon as you can. For the Pacers, a lot of it is just survive the first quarter, I think, Kevin, because it's there. You know that they're going to face an onslaught, especially being in Oklahoma City, because that's what OKC did to Denver in Game 7. They came out, got on a roll immediately, and it was Katie bar the door from there on out.
But they also lost Game 1 on their home floor to Denver after a long layoff. And I think that is something that you can't ignore for tonight. They had a 10-day layoff, I think, in between those two series. I think it's a 9-day layoff for this one, and they lost Game 1 at home. As I said earlier, it's time for Game 1 when we're asking ChatGPT to give us insight on the series. I'll throw this one in here. Out of the blue, Randall in the YouTube chat. I remember Carb Day as a younger lad with ZZ Top, and it was bleeping awesome. I had about 8 Bud 25-ounce cans. They made 25-ounce cans? And he also shares, and almost died, but man, what a good time.
Well, that's Carb Day in a nutshell, isn't it?
25-ounce cans?
I'm looking at like this, because I had to Google what this even looks like. Wow. Yeah, brother, you were having a great time.
Well, everybody's going to have a great time tonight.
I'm like picturing a bunch of 40s taped to Randall's hand here.
James, are you going to be out and about tonight? Are you going to go watch this with some folks? Or
no,
what are you going to do?
No
You're
chance.
just gonna...
I told you, antisocial. It's too serious of a game. Again, we'll explain pleasantries later on. Anybody who wants to tell me, things that have happened, their experience, we'll hear about it all tomorrow, but not tonight. Oh, no, don't call me.
That's beautiful. All right, we'll continue to talk about Game 1 coming up in a moment. I do want to hear from some folks if you're out there. We had one earlier, but he had to leave before we could get to him. What was in that swag bag that everybody was backing up 10 city blocks for to get to Gamebridge last night and get their swag bags?
I don't know. I do
want to.
I should ask Twitter, or if you are listening, call in. Let us know. What did you get if you were fortunate to get something? And yeah, that whole experience was just
like I would have thought there was a Willy Wonka finals ticket in one of those bags.
Honestly, it speaks to just how crazy people are about basketball in this state. So
it was
respect.
a reminder of what the parade would look like.
Yes.
I mean, that's to me what like when I saw the aerial shots of how far it was backed up, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm also thinking to myself, I don't plan events for a living, but was rush hour the best time to plan that?
So we got Brady O'Malley who said you got a shirt, a sign, a rally towel, and sunglasses.
Shirt, sign, rally towel, and sunglasses.
Finals edition, though.
Real quick.
God bless fandom, baby.
The reason I asked you where you're going to be is JMV will be at the Ale Emporium on Geist tonight.
Get the
Jake's going to be there too for the
Hermanaki wings or whatever. Those were pretty good.
So JMV and Jake are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you show up.
James Boyd will not be though.
No, we might grab. If I show up to your apartment and just grab you, you would go with me?
No, I would not. I would call the police.
Wow. That escalated quickly.
Yes. No, I got to get this, nipped in the bud real quick. I can't be out there, dilly and dallying. I got to watch the game.
More in a moment. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Tom Hammond to Kevin Harlan, and you got Chris and Slick and Marc Boyle there and Bill Walton at the end there. And it's been 25 years since some of those older voices were telling you about the Pacers getting to the NBA Finals, and some of the newer voices now in 2025. And it all starts tonight in Oklahoma City. Game 1, Pacers and Thunder. And again, I keep looking at my watch like every 5 minutes. Are we there yet? I'm like that little kid in the station wagon. Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Jeff, you caught me out in the hallway the other day staring at a picture that we have up, and it is from a whiteout inside of the Kestecher Fieldhouse during the 2000 finals. National anthem being played, just picture aerial arena shot of Pacers and Lakers. I found myself looking at the clock inside of Kestecher, then Kestecher, and you have the clock up there next to the old Jumbotron. And again, this is what tells you that we need to get closer to tip time. I came back in the studio. I said, what time did these games tip back in the 2000 NBA Finals? According to what I looked up here, these games tipped at 9:30 Eastern, a couple of them.
Because they're
9:30 Eastern. Can you imagine?
That would kind of make sense, though, right? Because they played L.A.
6:30 in L.A. They're trying to get prime
we
time.
have West Coast teams playing the finals now, and we don't tip at 9:30 Eastern.
Oh, fair. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they moved back to 9.
I mean, these tip times were set in stone weeks ago. Like, it's not just because Oklahoma City's an hour behind us that we get all the 8:30s and 8s. So I know we bitch and moan about a lot of things from a sport viewing standpoint right now. Just be glad we're not at the 9:30 Eastern tip times.
So here's what it came down to, because there's been so many days between games. You found yourself just looking everywhere for press conference video yesterday, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is good. Kevin is trying to figure out what time they tipped off 25 years ago. And I finally gave up. I'm like, I wonder what the clutch metrics look like on ChatGPT. That's where we're at, Kevin Bowen. Let's just hurry up and get to game time tonight, right?
I did enjoy the playoff hockey. I was like, that's a nice little
diversion
fix in between. Yeah, I like the intensity.
Well, and I usually like the randomness in June that we get from a sports calendar standpoint, in that I enjoy a little bit of the college softball World Series and the college baseball tournament. Like, both of those things I think are fun, like entertaining, isolated events. But yeah, it's a little different when you got the finals logo on the jersey and you got the Pacers tonight. Brad in the YouTube chat says he's off to OKC for game 1 and 2.
Oh, have a great time, my man.
You should call us up.
Started to make the road trip. I hope it has a better turnout than the next game 5. Oh, I think he was in Madison Square Garden for game 5.
Well, he just gave him impetus to come back and win in game 6. That's what it was. That's what I'm going with. He should call us up and report tomorrow morning.
James Boyd and I were all about the home game in game 6. And
y'all was hating on me.
So if I pick the Pacers in this series, I'm jinxing them. If I pick the Thunder, I'm a hater. Is that how it goes?
Yes. You're starting to figure out how radio works.
Do we want to give
Kevin.
our picks?
Maybe towards the end of the show.
All right, I'm with that.
Towards the end of the show. We'll do that.
I like that.
I know where Kylan's going. She's already dabbed up in last year's playoff T-shirt.
Sirs.
Hey, there we go.
Welcome, Boom Baby.
man.
So she was not one of the people who was messing up the city yesterday trying to get a free shirt. She got that from going to a game.
No, but I was stuck in the traffic anyways.
For real? Oh,
Might as
wow.
well have been.
Oh, man. And I didn't even know it was happening. I was stuck in here all day yesterday. I didn't even know that was going on outside.
Yeah, so I doubled back downtown after the show yesterday to hop on WRTV to do a Pacers preview of the finals at about 12 o'clock. And normally I would head back downtown to go play basketball or do something like that. And I didn't yesterday because I was working on the story. And I look up from the laptop and I see just so many things on my timeline, Jeff, where people are either very excited that they got what they wanted or very disappointed that they didn't get what they wanted, plus the traffic. So hopefully that is something that they learn from logistically. But it's also one of those things where, like, it's such a uniquely good problem is how I'll look at it. I wasn't in the traffic, obviously, so maybe I'll have a better positive perspective. But that doesn't happen unless your team's playing in June. And so this team is doing something special, and they have a chance to do what I told you the other day, Kevin, which is win their first road game in NBA Finals history for this franchise.
Let's go. Kevin, Scott had texted me, you were too young to remember this. Scott and I had to live through this. When we were youngsters.
I said Agness at first. I was like, wait,
No,
Scott
Agness joined us at 9 o'clock,
Johnston.
by the way.
Yeah. Scott Johnston reminded us that when we were young and wanted to watch the NBA Finals, it was on tape delay after the local news at 10:30 at night. My dad let me stay up and watch all of those things. This was back like Magic and Bird early 80s, and then the Sixers and even the first iteration of the Rockets in the 80s there. Those were the teams we had to stay up till 10:30 after your local news on tape delay, because at that point in time, the networks didn't think that the NBA was big enough to cancel out their network primetime programming.
That's actually really cool that back then you didn't get anything spoiled. Because now it's like if you want to watch anything delayed or behind, you need to turn off your phone, put it on Do Not
Right.
Disturb, and, make sure your neighbors aren't, being too loud and things like that. So it is cool to kind of see how the NBA has grown. And I honestly get that they're moving towards trying to, get things on TikTok and Snapchat and whatever else. But nothing will ever beat just watching the game and watching the game in totality. And that's what we'll get to do tonight.
Well, God bless being a Gen Y baby here, so I don't have to live through that. That sounds like hell, frankly.
We didn't know any
I was going
better.
to say, if you don't know any better,
We didn't know
it's
any
just
better.
normal,
We were just
right?
happy to see the games.
Andy asks here, do we know who is on the TV call for tonight? Yeah, Mike Breen, Doris Burke, Richard Jefferson. That is your ESPN trio there. Of course, Mark Boyle and Eddie Gill. We'll have you right here at 8:30. But Lisa Salters, I assume, sideline. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
she
they
is
do.
the sideline.
Yeah.
Do they do
She
two
is.
sidelines? I don't know if they do somebody.
No, I
has the
believe it's
Pacers-
just her.
Just her. I didn't know if somebody has the Pacers All Series, someone has the Thunder All Series, but yeah, so it will be our ESPN crew there of Mike Breen for the umpteenth year in a row, calling the finals. Doris Burke, and first one, right, for Richard Jefferson?
I believe so. That first Mike Breen bang is going to, well, depending on which side it's for.
Well, the bangs,
I need
honestly,
an
hurt
Aaron
you.
Neesmith bang.
Okay.
honestly, so far through the playoffs, the Pacers have shot the lights out from three compared to the Thunder. This is another storyline I think to keep an eye on. It's the Thunder are not this 3-point, they're not the Celtics. They're not the Warriors or anything like that. I mean, the Pacers are the best 3-point shooting team in the postseason. Of the 16 teams that have been in the postseason, no one has shot it better from behind there. And really, it's not close. The Pacers are significantly the best 3-point shooting team. The Thunder are 13th out of 16 teams. So, there are some people that would view that and say, oh, wow, that's huge. The Pacers that's a great equalizer in this series. The Pacers can do that. Now, others might say, hey, that's 3-point variance can come and go. And if all of a sudden that shrinks, the gap from 1 to 13 becomes whatever, 8 and 8, because the Thunder were a top 10 3-point shooting team in the regular season. So this is they haven't shot it well in the playoffs. If they start to shoot it better, that obviously wouldn't be a good thing. But if you look at that stat, the Thunder should give up their defensive approach is we'll give up some corner threes.
Yeah.
Well, if that happens, can Neesmith and Turner and Nembhard continue to hit, and Siakam
Don't
continue to
forget
hit
Thomas
those open
Bryant
shots?
after that last
Sam
game.
Perkins, Thomas Bryant. Can he continue to hit those open shots?
One of the things that's been a big topic of discussion for everybody, and I know we don't care here, is people talking about the markets. Indianapolis, Oklahoma City. Is the NBA disappointed by that or whatever? Adam Silver threw water on that when talking to Mike Greenberg yesterday. He said he has no problem at all with these two teams playing.
First of all, we are a country of small markets. It's interesting that the mayor of Oklahoma City tweeted yesterday that 88% of Americans live in cities or towns that are smaller than Oklahoma City. 300 million Americans. Wow. I mean, we're a little biased living here in New York. Oklahoma City is very representative of America. So is Indianapolis, for that matter. And even if you look at the NBA, at the end of the day, we are a league of relatively small markets compared, of course, to New York, LA, or Chicago. So the goal is to have a league where every team is in a position to compete. It's one thing I really admire about the NFL. I mean, if we were going into a Super Bowl and it was Packers against Steelers, you guys would be celebrating that. Those would be storied franchises. People wouldn't be talking about, the fact that Pittsburgh is a small market. So in fact, I'm happy whatever team ends up in the finals, but it's been intentional from our standpoint to create a system, a collective bargaining agreement that allows more teams to compete. And just by way of background, we're going to have to go through a process of getting to the point where people are accustomed to tuning into the finals because it's the two teams that deserve to be there, and it's the best basketball.
So it's nice to hear the commissioner say that, but also, to his point, what are we going to have, the 7th different NBA champion in the last 7 years?
Yes. And you know what surprised me? I looked this up yesterday. So I knew the Pacers were 22nd in payroll this year. OKC is 25th. I was like,
yeah, Hartenstein's their second highest paid player.
Yeah, I was like,
after
wow.
signing the big deal
and
last
obviously,
offseason.
Both teams will have to probably cash in, and I expect the Pacers probably to, Herb Simon going to the tax, brother, keep this team together. But that was kind of surprising to me. And he talks about the parity in the league, and that is what makes the NFL so great, is that you don't know. I get it, like the Chiefs went to 3 straight Super Bowls, but it wasn't like there wasn't entertainment value or some drama involved. And we see it week to week, Jeff, where, these games come down to one possession oftentimes in the NFL, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is. You can be a 2-win team or a 10-win team. It doesn't really matter. So I get where he's coming from that standpoint, and I don't mind it. And obviously you can't manufacture who's in the finals. It happens organically, and you got to celebrate that.
I'm excited for it tonight. I know for a fact that everybody else in Indianapolis who follows basketball is really pumped up for it, as we saw that back up
I would argue
yesterday.
even if you don't follow basketball. I am stunned by the amount of Pacer flags I see throughout my neighborhood. I mean, it is.
Are you for real?
Every other, like during Colts season, I don't see that.
They ain't in the finals.
Like I saw this at the start of the playoffs. It
Fair.
is amazing to
That's fair.
me how much general Pacer. I just think the Pacers unite unlike any other team in our city, more than the Colts. And honestly, it's probably a generational thing from the ABA days. When you think about it, the Colts moved here in 84. Like my dad was born in 51? So, I mean, my dad is 33 when the Colts move here.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you've probably established an allegiance elsewhere. I think John has talked about this. John grew up a Bears fan. Like, you didn't grow up necessarily as a Colts fan, whereas the Pacers, it can be a little bit more pass it down generationally. Now, over time, that might be different. 20, 30 years down the road, maybe that'll be different. But, I mean, hell, yeah. I mean, we talked about it all morning long. I mean, yeah, people backed up a mile to get a free T-shirt, a pair of sunglasses, and a rally towel? I mean, it's just, the Pacers, I think, are just, I think it's the 49 states in just basketball. I mean, to me, that is still very, very much alive and well. Even though the NFL, number-wise, it is still king, quote-unquote. I think in our 317, in our state of Indiana, there's nothing like what a parade would be like for the Pacers.
Well, I think you saw a preview of it just in that backup for free swag yesterday.
For sure.
I mean, nothing's even happened
What
yet.
was the fourth item? I said T-shirt, glasses, rally towel, and a sign?
Yes. I will say, though, to your point about the fandom and how crazy it is, I've enjoyed just my own personal experience not being an Indiana native, going back and learning about the 70s dynasty and how great they were.
Right.
And I think that is a unique angle, too, because obviously the Colts got here in 1984, but when you have that history of the Pacers going way back, it just brings you a different level of fan, passing it down, the younger generation, older generation. So,
well, and the Colts were
about,
horrific their first 10 years here.
Well, that too, yeah. But reading about, Slick Leonard and obviously George McGinnis and other people like that, Rick Mount, it's been cool for me to realize, okay, this is where they were and why it means so much now.
Yeah, and there's just so much history to basketball here. I heard Michael Rappaport talking about, you guys say it's Indiana, and it's just basketball everywhere else. And he was trying to make his case, and he left so many people out that have made this game great over the years, one of which was the great John Wooden, who did his thing up at Purdue, obviously. And, yes, we know basketball was not invented in Indiana. We just, took it to a different level. So
have you been to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Either of you?
Yeah.
It is awesome. And when I went there, after spending some time at Newcastle where it was packed out, 8,000 fans for some high school game, I was thinking, wow, like, they're not lying. Because I was probably more on that side, being the hard-headed Illinois guy. But it is different here. Like, they love their basketball. And you could say the competition, it might be better or better players might come from different states, whatever. But the love of it is different.
It's just a little thing, but like this weekend's Indiana-Kentucky All-Star game. Do you guys know where Kentucky's going to host versus where we're going to host the game?
I don't know this.
Yeah, I know it's night and day. I know that.
Kentucky is going to host at Lexington Catholic High School. We're going to host it inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse during the NBA Finals.
And people will show up to watch it.
Again, just a little thing, but like, think about that. You're hosting it in your NBA arena during the NBA Finals versus Little Lexington Catholic High School. I mean, what? Like, you couldn't get to bigger, different situations or atmospheres, arenas, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I know it's sappy. I know we're biased, but it truly is different.
I don't care.
It truly is different.
One of my favorite pastimes is just going to a game, knowing nobody, and then knowing everybody when I left, because you sat next to this person whose son is playing, or this person who just wants to see basketball, or this little kid who's, just dreaming of being on the varsity team at their local high school. So, yeah, it is fun. And then you get some of those vibes and feels with the Pacers. I talked about this the other day, actually yesterday on WRTV, where you look at the makeup of the team, you can identify with pretty much anyone on the roster depending on what your background is. You have the underdog 3-star recruit in Tyrese Halliburton. You have the Canadians in Andrew Nembhard and Benedict Mather. And you have the guy from Cameroon, the kid from Cameroon who's supposed to be a priest. He's a basketball player. You have Thomas Bryant, who's the underdog energy guy who played basketball at IU. So I enjoy kind of, the layers within your fandom where you can kind of attach yourself to each player and figure out who's your guy and roll with him.
Chris adds this, and I don't probably pay enough attention to the marketing of the two major pro sports teams here in town to give a great answer on this. So I'll throw it both at you two. He's getting back into the Pacers-Colts debate. He goes, I also think it's fair to point out the Pacers do an exceptional job building relationships with their fans. Example, the swag bag giveaway. And branding marketing to themselves. I would say that they are significantly better than the Colts in this area. Would you guys agree with that? Do you think the Pacers are better from a marketing / giveaway standpoint than the Colts?
I do think the Pacers are elite at marketing, and I've been in a lot of markets, and they do a fantastic job. They're just always doing something to keep themselves connected and relevant to people, and I've always enjoyed that about that franchise. I think the Colts, like many NFL teams, they focus on things like kick the stigma, and they do get out in the community. You see Blue doing all kinds of things, just like you see Boomer all kinds of things. I do think that the Pacers are elite, but I don't think the Colts are bad at it either.
Yeah, I don't know. I would feel better answering this if I were truly a fan of both teams and I could kind of weigh my experiences through that lens. But from what I've seen on the media side, the different events that I've gone to, the Colts do plenty of, community engagement, and I think their branding is just fine. It ultimately comes down, in my opinion, to winning. People attach themselves to winners, and they just haven't won recently.
Yeah. It's a lot more bang for your buck if you're a season ticket holder if you're going to playoff games and championship games, right?
That's very true.
All right, let's check it down and let you know what's going on in the world of sports here in Indy. Well, tonight, Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the Western Conference champions. The Indiana Pacers, Slick Leonard, are the Eastern Conference champions.
Boom, baby!
That's right. I want to hear a bunch of that tonight. I want collective boom babies from everybody who's watching the game tonight. Every time there is a three, just promise me out loud in front of your family. James, you'll be alone in your apartment, but everybody else going out to the Geist Ale Emporium with JMV and Jake. Every time there's a three, I want a collective boom baby in this city, man. That would be so cool. It'd be a great nod to Slick. It'd be a great nod to the NBA and how it's evolved from our old ABA roots. I would love that.
I tell you what, they get it done. You'll hear a lot of that. And I don't think I'll sit down tonight during the game.
I'm a Pacer, too.
I'm thinking about that.
And I don't mean that to make a pun.
No,
but yes,
I'm serious.
I walk back and forth.
And I know for the fourth quarter, if it's tight, I'm definitely not sitting down.
What's your routine to watch a basketball game, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm definitely a fourth quarter antsier. A little bit of a pacer, certainly third downs during Notre Dame games. It's unhealthy, probably, the type of reactions and emotions that I have.
Does Maddie take the kids out during Notre Dame games?
I think she's actually just kind of exposed them to it, so I do appreciate that. I mean, you might as well rip the Band-Aid off, but yeah, it's rather pathetic. I usually, shut the curtains during Notre Dame games just to make sure the neighbors still think somewhat decently of me.
Well, we
when I
also
walk
know
outside.
the shirt's coming off at some point in time, so we got to protect them from that.
Yeah, honestly, the shirt's probably not even on once Notre Dame kicks off.
All right, so tonight, 8:30, Game 1. You'll hear it live here on The Fan. Pre-game on the network starts at 8. JMV will be going straight through 8 o'clock. He'll be at the Ale Emporium out near Geist Reservoir, about 116th and Oleo is where you're going to find that one. Jake is going to be there, too, for a watch party. So we got a lot going on there tonight. Make sure you take part in that if you're up in that area. You just want to go celebrate with a bunch of other Pacers fans and watch the game with everybody there. Last night in this state of basketball, Indiana All-Stars getting ready for their game against the Kentucky All-Stars this weekend in the home and home there, Kevin. But they played seniors against juniors last night. How do you think that one went?
Luke Ertl did Luke Ertl things. Off to Purdue in 2026, continuing to put up some impressive numbers here in the All-Star Series. So they beat the seniors. Sounded like a great game. Back and forth. I know the seniors took a lead there late. Mark Zachary, Trey Singleton, Brady Kaler, Braylon Mullins, of course, on his home floor last night, right? That was Greenfield Central, I believe, was the location for last night's game.
That one you got me. I don't know. I was following it, but I didn't see exactly where it was. I was watching it kind of information trickle out on online yesterday. But the juniors win at 117, 114.
Did you chat GBT that?
Luke, I did not. Luke Ertl scored 36 points. You got to watch chat GPT, man. You got to be very specific because it doesn't always know what it's talking about, Kevin.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever used it.
I just thought it would be a fun, different, interesting way to look at the series.
James, Caitlin Clark chatting to the media today. Anything you expect? First time she's spoken since the quad injury.
Not really. I mean, you're not going to come back and play tomorrow, so she's just required to talk. And so when you're the face of the WNBA, you have to talk. Because I'm not even sure if it was somebody else, no disrespect to any other player of like a lesser degree, we would make this a big thing. She'll say she's been probably working out, rehabbing, making progress, and then that'll be that.
Yep. And they will play again without Caitlin Clark on Saturday night at Chicago. That one will start at 8 p.m. You'll hear it live here on The Fan, and the Fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison starts 15 minutes before tip time there. Major League Baseball last night. Milwaukee Brewers over our Cincinnati Reds. Kevin, I don't know how that happened. 9-1 was the final score there. The Cubs did lose at Washington 2-0 there. Cardinals were postponed in their game with Kansas City by rain. The Indians got a 10-3 win over the Memphis Redbirds. They will play again tonight in Memphis at 8:05. And Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals goes to the Edmonton Oilers. Have a one-game-to-none advantage, obviously, over the Florida Panthers now as they try to become the first Canadian hockey team, Kevin, since the 92-93 season when the Canadians were led by Patrick Waugh to try and win.
It's a wild stats. Ugly weather to start your commute here on this Thursday morning. If you haven't been outside yet, or if you do travel on the east side of Indianapolis or even outside of the metro area, watch out for I-70. Some major backups earlier this morning, and I hope, fingers crossed, Mother Nature gets out of the state of Indiana here because certainly it's a major time of year. Out in Terre Haute, Special Olympics this weekend. My mom taught many Special Olympians back in the day. I had the pleasure of working with Jordan Carson, one of their golfers, way back in the day. So got over about 2,400 athletes competing over in Terre Haute coming up this weekend. So hopefully great weather for what is an awesome event for all those Special Olympians.
If you've never been to an event like that, and you go for the first time, be prepared, man. It is inspiring. It touches you. There will be times where you're like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Where are the onions at? Kevin, you know all about that. It's a special event, man.
Yeah, indeed.
It really is. I've been to several of them over the years, and I've never gone away disappointed. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Greenfield, thank you, Charlie, last night there.
Greenfield.
I had a chance to do a lot of that when I was in college, so it was a good time.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we will talk more about the Pacers Game 1 matchup with the Oklahoma City Thunder later on tonight. We've got Scott Agness at 9 o'clock, Marc Kestecher from ESPN Radio at 9:30. And we'll even take some phone calls coming up in a few minutes here. Where are you at on Game 1? We'll take the temperature of the Pacers fans next at 239-1070 here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Tonight in Game 1 at Oklahoma City. I'm just curious, will there be a Max Bowen prediction with like mini basketballs or something like that?
Well, first, I can't ignore a little oops, I did it again. Kylan Talley on the re-entry there from one Britt Spears, the number one single the last time the Pacers were in the NBA Finals.
25 years since Brittany was Brittany?
There's no way that song is 25 years old.
How
Wow.
about that?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say there's a lot of Thunder like paraphernalia lying around the house. I have 32 mini NFL helmets. I don't think I have 32, or I guess 30 NBA mini basketballs. There's got to be some Sonics gear somewhere in my house, though, right? Do I have a Detlef Schrempf Sonics jersey
from back in the day? I covered that team. Gary
How many
Payton,
years did
Sean
Durant
Kemp,
play in
Detlef Schrempf.
Seattle? Because I feel like I do see just one.
I think it was just one.
I was going to say I do feel I do see the Durant Sonics jersey around.
See, as an old Sonics guy, I can't have Oklahoma City win a championship before the Indiana Pacers do. I cannot have that.
Well, they need you out there guarding SGA because
No,
it's
they
gonna
don't
be a
want me.
tall task. One thing I do want to see, and I've thought about this, can they make SGA shoot more jumpers? And he's elite from the mid-range, but his three-point percentage is not that great. I think he's shooting 30% from three throughout the playoffs. And so,
would that be more Neesmith or Nembhard then?
Good question. I
Both.
think it would, probably both. But my gut would probably tell me Nembhard, mainly because I think Aaron's style of play may not mesh well with SGA. Like I can already see him.
2 fouls in
Lord,
6
yeah,
minutes.
like Lord forgive me for envisioning this so early in the day, but
Shepard's in there 8 minutes ago.
yeah, but he's such a physical player, and one of the things that SGA does well is that he will force you to react to his contact. He's a very physical player. He gets downhill. It's not the same cadence as Jalen Brunson, but it's similar in the fact that he's going to force you to make a mistake or to stick your hand in the cookie jar or to react to, him possibly hooking your arm or just little things like that, tricks of the trade. And so I just want to know, what can they do? Do they build a wall? Do they try to say, hey, we're going to force other guys to beat us? Do we double hard off the screens? Whatever they do to make him, be more of a jump shooter and potentially more of a three-point shooter, because that is where one of the weaknesses in his game still is.
I think what's frustrating too about Shea is, like, from an opposing fan standpoint, it's not like it's Giannis. Like, okay, look at Giannis's body. Of course he's going to draw fouls. Look at Shea's body. I mean, it's two totally different situations. Like, he's not even Russell Westbrook or, Brunson and Harden, some of those guys. I mean, they do just, I don't know, there's a little bigger, thicker, I guess would be the better way to describe it. Whereas Shea just he just kind of like slivers his way through the lane, and
it's very unique.
But he's also a big dude.
I mean, he's 6'5", and he's got some length, but
Yeah.
I don't want to act like he's some 230-pound dude barreling into the lane. So yeah, I think that's a good storyline to bring up, and how they choose to defend him, whether it's Neesmith, whether it's Nembhard, will be something to watch.
239-1070 number to call. We got some folks on the line. Matt Martin, we were talking about the Indiana Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame a little while ago. He's from the Indianapolis Hall of Fame, and he is joining us now on the phone. Good morning, my friend. How you doing today?
Good morning. How are you guys? Thanks for the shout out.
Hey, just like you, man. We're just fired up and looking to add memorabilia over there. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We love taking in anything we can, and we've got a bunch of it. So, like I said, appreciate the shout out and love listening as I drive in, and just came to the museum this morning and ready for tonight.
Matt, aren't you a Knightstown guy?
I am, the big city.
Let's go. I'm good friends with Bobby Allen, who used to coach there.
Yeah, I was AD at Knightstown when Bobby was coaching, and officiated a couple of his games this year, and loved the success, and happy for him to move to HSE.
Let's go. Do we have an announcement yet? Maybe we already did, and I just missed it, for Hall of Fame coming up in December?
We did. We announced it.
Team-wise, sorry to be vague on that.
No, yeah. We announced it. It's been a couple months ago. We're actually playing it early this year due to Christmas. So those games will be the 22nd and 23rd over at Newcastle.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking at it right here, Mount Vernon. So speaking of Luke Ertl, Mount Vernon, Northview, and the boys, and Silver Creek and Crown Point as well.
Oh, if the Colts are not on the road that weekend, I will be there.
It's a Tuesday, James Boy. That's our quiet day.
I'm in there. I'm locked in.
We'll all go there.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, Matt, for the call.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Welcome anytime. Anytime.
You bet. Matt Martin of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
It costs like $5 to get into the Hall of Fame, which is well worth your money.
James, you'll be there. You'll have the coordinators in your ear that day on
He'll get
Zoom
a front row seat. He'll be on the floor. You know how that goes. Your big deal.
Get there early. No, it's not even getting. No, you got to get there early. I've learned.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines, 239-1070. Chef Jeff joining us next here on the Fan Morning Show. Chef Jeff, what's it look like for you tonight? Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing?
First, I'm trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to make it through the day at work.
It's going to be long, man.
You know, I am so ready to get on the corner of my couch and have my 3-year-old side by side. And once I start making noise, then my 11-year-old will put the Xbox down and come down and watch it with me.
That's how it works. So, do you have a specific spot on the corner of that couch, or are you not superstitious in that way?
Well, I do, and I'm a big Chiefs fan, and I chose to sit on the opposite couch this past year, and that didn't turn out so good.
Oh, don't do that.
So, yeah, I'm going to go back to my normal spot. The wife will be in the other room, and then eventually she'll probably join us in the game room.
Well, we hope that everybody is celebrating on the end of the couch later on tonight, the entire
Jeff,
family.
you got optimism? You got legit, realistic optimism? Where you at?
Well, you know, the thing about it is we're normally closed on all holidays, so we're at work, we're supposed to be closed on Juneteenth, but we already know we've already planned on opening up Juneteenth. So, yeah, hopefully we're going to end the series on Juneteenth.
That would be game 6, correct?
That is correct.
That man has a plan.
Look
I like
at
it.
that.
I respect it.
It is amazing to start to look at the Chef Jeff. Thank you for the call. It is amazing to start to look at the calendar and be like, wait a minute, if they win this day, would the parade be this day? I mean, guys,
that's just one at a time, Kevin. One at a time.
Well, I mean, and then when do you order the Speedo? Do you have to wait till what? 2 wins to order the Speedo?
I think you should be ready and waiting, my man.
Or are people going to jinx me for that?
I think it's like the Stanley Cup. You got to have it on site, but you may not get to use
Lord Stanley and Lord Speedo?
Yeah. Someone's trying to
Do
get
you guys
me
want
to
to see some pictures of some of the Speedos that I've been looking at?
No.
Do you not?
No.
Sure.
Oh. We may have to switch seats. You're like all in on the shirtless Kevin Bowen, the Speedo Kevin Bowen.
Hey, I support my guy.
All right.
No body shaming around here.
Chris Burton up next here at 239-1070. Good morning, Chris. What is on your Pacers basketball mind today?
I'm ready for the game tonight, and I got a little superstition going. I got my wife the Blue City Edition T-shirt, and we haven't lost since she's had it on.
Let's go.
Has she watched it, or is it just like you got to keep it ripe?
No, I've watched it. I watched it last night, so it'd be fresh for the whole series.
All right.
Did she not wear
Chris is up at the crack it on ironing it.
Did she not wear it in Game 5? Was that a problem?
No, she didn't actually wear it. She didn't know we had the game that night because I was actually at work that night. I work a 12-hour rotating shift.
Oh, boy.
So she didn't know I worked, and unfortunately I work tonight, but she knows that tonight is the night that the series starts.
Don't mess this
We're in
up.
the NBA freaking finals. Come on.
You guys like this version of the Speedo? Thank you, Chris, by the way. I'm thinking of the white, like this one to me looks like a little Reggie, like 90, maybe 94. Can you guys picture Reggie in that uniform? That color?
Try not to picture anybody in that uniform.
Boy, you guys just...
I'm with it.
I need Marc back. Come on.
I am team
Man.
Speedo.
Oh, no. I'm all
Marc
happy
will
for
be
you.
all about it.
I'm all happy for you to do it.
That was not me modeling the Speedo, by the way, in the picture.
With the 6-pack, that wasn't you?
Well, say no, man. You're chiseled.
In case you're curious.
Yeah, we know
So
what
do
you're working with.
you got to wait till they win 2 before you order it, or you got to? I mean, do I order it now? Do I order it right
how long
here?
is it going to take?
Well, Amazon can get things to you tonight. So I would say
I'm
if
at
you got some conviction.
I'm at Ellsmore Swim Shop here.
Oh, Lord.
Delivery by June 12th. Okay, so I'm good.
So a week, basically, from today.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I say.
How much is it? We'll go in with you.
Who is we? I don't speak French.
Oh, come on.
I'm joking.
Killing me.
That was smooth.
I
James.
will.
$29.95.
Oh, yeah. I'm in on that.
Yeah, you can wear it at the neighborhood pool.
Man.
Maddie on line 1.
Alex, we need white gloves to handle the Speedo. That is excellent. So they brought Lord Stanley out, right, before the game last night?
Yeah, they show them what you're playing for.
I think that's awesome.
It's true.
We have Ben Dover in the YouTube chat says in capital letters, KB, order that Speedo. I love the conviction.
That's what we do.
That is excellent.
All right, quick timeout. We'll do more on the other side, 239-1070. Taking your pulse on the Pacers. It's Pacer Nation time. It's the pulse of Pacer Nation. Next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We've been calling it Championship Thursday as we start the NBA Finals tonight. The Indiana Pacers taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. All kinds of ways for you to be involved with this. You can go hang out with JMV and Jake. Later on today, JMV is going to do his show from 3 to 8 from the Ale Emporium out in Fishers, just outside of Geist Reservoir there, about 116th and Oleo, if you're in that neighborhood there. And then Jake is going to be there for a watch party after that. You'll be able to hear the game beginning at 8:30 tip right here on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan Network pregame starts at 8. So basically, we'll be talking about nothing but Pacers and Oklahoma City for the rest of the day, and I'm fine with that. I mean, what else would we really be talking about today?
Well, you don't want to break down Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones?
You guys get to do that
Spencer
later
Schrader
on today.
versus Maddox Trujillo in a kicking competition?
I do expect a full report tomorrow, though.
I will be a professional, and I
Can you
will
imagine
certainly
if we
provide
lead
more.
off tomorrow with Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones?
We will not be leading off with that tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe I guess if it goes terribly, we could. Right?
Yeah, about game one. We don't have time for that.
Yeah. In the meantime, let's go back to the phone lines.
Boy, these folks will come find us.
239-1070. Oh, you kidding me? They come find us now anyway. What are you talking about?
I'll be running for my life.
Let's go to the phone lines. Jay is up next. Jay, do you have a question about KB and his vacation? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah, KB. I know a couple of weeks back you said you were like, if we make it to the finals, I might have to move my vacation. How's that? What's the update on that?
So my June 27th, that is a Friday, I am off to Oregon for 4 days. I'm playing Bandon Dunes, the golf resort. For those non-golf nerds out there, this is like the Disney World for adults. I'm giddy. I'm very excited. I'm like Notre Dame going to the national title. I can't wait. So, Jay, if we have a Game 7, that would be the 22nd. You got to think.
Oh, okay.
You got to think the parade would be what, the 24th, Tuesday?
Yeah,
I mean, aren't I good? NBA draft.
Yeah.
You guys want to laugh?
then-
The NBA draft is 3 days after Game 7. I mean, like, so I think I'm good, Jay. Game 7, the 22nd, parade the 24th.
All right, so
I do the
next
Speedo,
update-
and then I pack the Speedo, and I'm off to Oregon.
Next update is, what about the Plot Rickens T-shirt? We haven't heard anything about that.
So I rocked the Plot
You wearing
Rickens.
that?
Yeah, I rocked it on Monday. I thought Rick Carlisle already dunked on me enough during the interview on Monday. I figured I wasn't going to go with the Plot Rickens question. I know James Boyd is waiting anxiously for me to ask the Plot Rickens question to Rick Carlisle.
The plot has rickened.
I'm always thinking, like, how much is too much? Because I don't want Rick to be like, all right, this Kevin's not taking us serious, and, you know, we got to get ready for the zone defense we're going to see from OKC. So,
Jay, thank you for the call.
yes. Yeah, between you and Jay, I'm trying to make sure everyone stays alive.
Yeah, it's funny. Before the last question, I said to James, I'm like, you think I should ask him about McAfee? I couldn't tell if James wanted to see me get shut out again or if he legitimately thought I should ask him about McAfee. Took a little bit more there on the McAfee question to get him to finally.
He got it there.
Yeah.
You got it there.
Rick was locked in. So next week we'll get Rick after what? Game 2, is this right? If I'm looking at the calendar right?
Yeah.
Yes, because Game 3 is until Wednesday, I believe.
And then if the series, well, you would think, yeah, I mean, the series is going to go at least 5, right? Well, hell, we would need it to go 6.
You think
now that I'm
Oklahoma
looking
City's
at the
going to win a
calendar.
game? Is that what you're saying?
Are we doing our picks now, or are we
No,
waiting?
we'll do it later.
Last hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go talk to Sam up next at 239-1070. Sam, what is on your Pacers' mind today?
Yeah, I don't know if it's really been touched on, but I just kind of wanted to talk about, like, I was talking with my buddy, and I, like, pointed out how, you know, on the court, I'm sure the Thunder have, you know, definitely been tested, you know, playing pretty good teams, the Nuggets, the Wolves, and Grizzlies, but the fact that, you know, playing one interim head coach in the playoffs is very rare, just because, you know, coach usually doesn't get fired if they make the playoffs, but they played 2, which is probably never going to happen in NBA history again. So I just think, you know, I wonder if Coach Dagnall has necessarily been tested as much as, you know, Rick Carlisle. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know he's a good coach, but I'm just wondering what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show. I mean, you just laid it out there. Interim head coach with the Grizzlies, interim head coach with the Nuggets, and then Chris Finch last round. Yeah, I do think the Pacers staff has been tremendous. And, you know, an area I think they deserve a lot of credit is just the resiliency that they have not allowed things to snowball. You know, when's the last time they've had back-to-back losses? That has been, I think, a stat that is really indicative of your coaching staff. The double-digit loss stat, remember, like, what have they won, 10 or 12 in a row, maybe it is now, after a double-digit loss? Game 5, for example, with the Knicks. They lose by double digits, boom, they come back the next night or the next game and they win. That to me is a really indicative stat for this coaching staff as well. So, yeah, I don't want to discredit Marc Dagnall because I think he is a very, very good coach. But at the same time, I do think from a coaching staff opposition standpoint, it is a different animal here.
Yeah, I believe you have to give the flowers to Rick on that one when it comes to maybe having the edge, because Rick has been in these positions before. And honestly, he is part of one of the greatest upsets we've seen in NBA history when the Mavs won in 2011. And Tyrese Halliburton, a LeBron fan back then, said he hated Rick Carlisle because of that series. But to Sam's point, yes, I think that they'll be tested more, OKC is, that is, in this series than perhaps they have been just tactically throughout the playoffs. But at the same time, they got tested pretty well against that Jokic-led Denver team, and they've responded.
And it's not just Rick. I mean, Jenny Busek, Lloyd Pierce, Jim Boylan, Mike Weiner, they have all been tremendous. And you can watch, I like to watch what happens during timeouts. I like to watch when I get to the arena about an hour beforehand how players relate to those coaches, how much they trust them and as they go through their day. I think Rick has just put together one heck of a coaching staff all the way
I think
around.
anybody would tell you that the 2011 finals that Rick and several of those names you just mentioned were on in Dallas, that the coaching acumen in that series was a huge difference in Dallas pulling off that upset over the Heat. So now it's 14 years later, which sounds like a long, long time.
It's been that long?
But can you dial it up again? So, you can point to, I think, about 3 or 4 things. I've said, hey, put the clutch situations alive and well. Like, just put that on. Make Oklahoma City prove themselves. There are about 3 or 4 things that I think if you can try and, hey, you've got to prove yourself here, that goes a long way. And all of a sudden, this being a series that right now Vegas thinks will not happen at all.
Yeah. Somebody else pointed out yesterday, too, about that Dallas win, that they also had the best player in the series on their team in Dirk Nowitzki. That never hurts either. That's always good to have.
Yeah, which was a crazy statement to say considering who was in that series. It's supposed to be LeBron James. We know how that went. But this is a series where I believe OKC has the best player in the MVP. It's not a hot take. But, again, as we've said all year, the Pacers, when it comes to 3 through 8, they've been better than other teams. So they'll get tested against the OKC team that has depth as well.
I do want to get to one more before we get to Scott on the other side of the break here. Don, I want to get you because you've been hanging on for quite a while. I want to make sure you get the payoff here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. What's your game day look like?
Well, I'm working. I'm like that other guy. I don't even know if I can get through the day, but my superstition of turning the TV off, radio up is what I always do.
Oh, yeah.
When they fall behind, I turn the radio off, walk away all upset, and then I come back to them leading all of a sudden. But on that, I hope with the travel thing in Oklahoma, you remember last time we was in the finals, they put us in some boondock hotel 2 hours away from the arena.
Were they in Palm Springs for that?
Yeah, it was all over.
Remember that? I was like, what a sham. There ain't a hotel they could have put us in sooner. So hopefully that goes better in Oklahoma than it did there. And I believe we got this. I think our players believe, and I know the city believes. So we got this. And on you, KB, I can't stand you for going to Oregon. That's why I can't stand you, because you get to do that.
A little jealousy
Don,
right there.
I'm thrilled, brother. I will send you some pictures. We'll come over next year and we can listen to the first Pacer game on the radio next year to start off that.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Just for you, Don, right there. Good job, Kylan. All right,
Gosh, I
coming up
love
in a
that
moment,
energy.
Scott Agness
If the Pacers
returns.
play like Don, Pacers in 4.
Facts.
Maybe 3.5. Maybe 3.5, Kevin. Scott Agness up next, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Want to listen to the song, get hooked up. Let's go. Kylan Talley with the production there. Doing a great job. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard. We are now, men, 8 hours, and I'm sorry, a little less than that, 11 hours. Not even that. I can't even add. That's how fired up I am. But, yeah, we're about 11 and a half hours away.
We'll get there.
11 and a half hours away.
Will we get there?
I don't know.
I will. I'm about to say, what else? What other option do we have?
We ought to just...
We'll pass our time watching quarterbacks at West 56th Street.
What time you guys got to be out there for that?
I believe like 12:50 or something like that.
Man. KB, you're going to be able to focus on that out there?
Honestly, I am really looking forward to it because it'll help pass the time.
There we go.
More than anything. Yeah. So, yeah, very much looking forward to it.
We're going to be charting passes together.
You know, you've got that. Caitlin Clark will be talking to the media this afternoon for the first time in over a week. So, you know, obviously, those are storylines that we will not be hitting on very early in the show tomorrow. But for a random Thursday in June, those are actually a couple storylines. But all of our focus, of course, is on Oklahoma City coming up tonight. And I believe our next guest is currently live there, correct?
That's right. We got Scott Agness from Fieldhouse Files joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Where are you this morning, Scott?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, just in a hotel in downtown OKC. All the hotels are kind of right here. It's a nice, easy city to enjoy an NBA Finals.
How much will we be enjoying the NBA Finals after tonight?
I think the Thunder are just such a good defensive team that's the number one thing I'm fascinated to watch here. Is just sometimes it can just be suffocating, and I think the Pacers will come out strong though. I mean, the fact that they have their health, they've had 4 days between games here. I think that's obviously advantageous, and we know this team isn't going to roll over. It's not in their DNA whatsoever. So. I think the Thunder will win this series, but I think the Pacers are going to make it much more difficult than a lot of people are giving them.
Scott, got the Fieldhouse Files on the ground coverage. Certainly saluting to that.
We're back.
Exactly, back in action. And then when I look at the way that Tyrese has played against the Thunder in the 2 games this season, small sample size, but not what you would expect from him. 11 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. He's kind of been a non-factor in these games. How do the Pacers help him be more of himself against a very good defensive Thunder team, like you said?
Yeah, and he's going to see so many different looks. There's just like the Pacers do that with other players. I think he'll be a recipient of it on the other end with Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe and so many different guys that they will throw at him. I think the thing for him this whole series, and we've talked about it since he came here, it's going to be a storyline and a number of things of where does he strike his balance between attacking and trying to create while also enabling others to do just that and being okay with that and that sort of thing. But I think if he gets in the right mentality early on in the game, takes a couple early shots, maybe sees one of those go down, and then they can't just get in too big of a hole. I think early on in the game would be another key factor in that one, because then they sometimes will resort to guys trying to claim it and get it back, one player at a time rather than within the flow of the offense. But yeah, they have their hands full with this OKC defense, though. That's the overwhelming thing, though.
Scott, you're such a great observer of things kind of around you. I'm curious, like, what was media day like? I can't say I've ever paid attention to NBA media day in the finals until yesterday. What was it like for someone boots on the ground?
Yeah, so the Thunder went first. They practiced and were able to watch the final 30 minutes of that. Then they brought out these little booths. There were 3 of them on the corner of each of the on the court, and that's where those were the extra podiums. There was a main podium behind the scenes. But while that was going on for the Pacers, you had team executives, scouts, medical staff just kind of sitting 7 rows deep, watching, observing, waiting for that all to be done. You had several players just watching, soaking it in. I'm talking about the two-way guys, especially Quentin Jackson, Ray J. Dennis were sitting together on the baseline, just seeing all of this go down. You had a couple other NBA players who were involved because each year the NBA welcomes them to serve as kind of the correspondent. And I think that was interesting because the Pacers have had several of those. Miles Turner's done it. Benedict Matherin's done it a couple of years ago. Jalen Williams of the Thunder has done that. And all that is they put a mic in your hand and you go around and ask. Because you're a player, you have a little bit more power and can ask questions to these guys. But most of the guys were mostly relaxed, just answering questions and ready for the games to begin. That was the other thing. I think TJ McConnell said it well. He was like, yeah, it's just kind of anxious energy. We're all just ready to get this show on the road.
Scott, the Pacers win this series if what happens?
Pascal Siakam averages 30 points. They limit Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to below 12 free throw attempts per game in no more than one monster game. And then I think Tyrese has to get back. He needs to have that assist average. He needs to be up, 10, 11 per game in that range. Those are all indicators for me that things are going in the Pacers' direction.
Let's talk about the important stuff. How many Pacers fans have you seen roaming around downtown Oklahoma City in the last 24 hours? What's the contingent like on the travel basis there?
I will say so far, and I was only out last night walking back from the hotel and then to dinner and such. There wasn't many people out in general. So, I probably walked past less than 20 people. So I have not seen any Pacer shirts or anything like that. It's right by a baseball minor league ballpark. And there's the women's World Series games also going on at the same time, I guess, here nearby as well. So far, no real atmosphere to report either way, Jeff.
So you're saying there was not a big crowd out in the streets on a Wednesday night after 10 in Oklahoma City?
It was not after 10, but yes. No, not at all.
I said, what time do you think this man eating dinner? Scott.
Well, James, that was lunch and dinner, I will say.
Okay, fair enough. I'm curious to know what the rest and time off did for the Pacers, particularly when it came to Aaron Nesmith. I know he spoke yesterday. Any update on Jarris Walker, things of that nature?
Yeah, no real update on Jarris Walker. He was one of the three players that they did not make available. The other is Isaiah Jackson, who's out with injury. And then rookie Johnny Furphy. Everyone else was available. I had a long, fascinating conversation with James Johnson, which I'll get to here probably in a couple days, but just hitting on a wide-ranging subjects. But in terms of injuries, Aaron Nesmith said, hey, I'm great to go, updated us a little bit on all the different things he's done to get to this point, including like red light therapy and hyperbaric chamber and all these different things. And so he was like, I was looking forward to this break more than anyone because I needed it. Tony Bradley said, I'm not sure if I'm going to play tomorrow, but I'll be ready if needed. So he seems good to go. He's officially listed as questionable. Outside of that, nothing of note, I think, from the injury standpoint.
Scott, I would like to see them start Nesmith on Shai. First off, the handful of days off, I'd be curious how much good did that do for his ankle. If the referees are going to swallow the whistle a little bit, I think that benefits Nesmith. So, again, I just kind of wanted to test that out. And I think Nembhard is going to be really critical offensively because if Dort limits Halliburton in any way, you're going to need Nembhard to be a key facilitator in it all. How do you think they will start with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yeah, I think it'll be Nesmith. I do. I think, and then that's what it should be early on. And make things difficult and take away his airspace and make him work for it early. And you're right. These officials don't want to be the center of attention. They're not trying to call everything. So maybe you lean into the fact, like you said, KB, is you be physical with them, take away any kind of easy shots, and then you feel things out there in that first quarter of how that game is going to be called. The challenge is you have new officials in each game, so you really have to do that for each time. But it's interesting that each series there's been one opposing player that's just been a great in terms of getting to the foul line, whether it's Giannis, Jalen Brunson, and now in this case SGA, because he's going to be a complete handful overall. And then the other matchup I'm really interested to see is Jalen Williams guarding Pascal Siakam. He's another all-defensive league guy, and if he can quiet Pascal a little bit. And on the other side of that, Pascal's got to be more assertive. He's got to be more demanding of the ball. And I've always said that about him, but I think that's especially true here on the biggest stage when they're going to need a little more help, because I think Tyrese he's going to see doubles, he's going to see blitzes, he's going to be picked up 92 feet. I think they're going to try to both wear him down and frustrate him like crazy, knowing how important he is to the structure of this offense.
Scott, this team has played really well in the playoffs on the road. Is that just series by series and matchup against those teams, or do you expect that to continue here in Oklahoma City?
I think there's something to that. I mean, the overwhelming storyline that they are answering questions and talking about yesterday was being the underdog and everybody counting us out. And he's like, Miles Turner's like, yeah, we thrive off that. And Tyrese, we know, leans into a storyline more than anyone. And Rick Carlisle talking about how all these guys have, been the underdog coming up and, being traded and discounted. So I think these guys don't mind being on the road in that atmosphere because they have each other. That's where guys like Thomas Bryant, who, whether he's playing or not, is just one of the best teammates there on the bench, of supportive of one another. He was another one that was great to talk with yesterday. Here's the challenge, though. This Thunder team is unlike any other one they faced this season. They are a dominant home team. They have one of the best home atmospheres. They're going to be white T-shirts for all the fans here tonight. As Thunder wear white, they'll be wearing blue their next several games. And this team's 29-1 against the Eastern Conference. So I'm thinking it's probably neutralized factor at best, given how good the Thunder are in their circumstances.
Scott, can the Pacers win this series if they trail?
I do. I think so. I don't think it will happen, but I think it would be possible, just given this is a team that's never counted each other out and has always had some resilience factor to it. I think, to your point, yes, the worst case scenario is it's 1-1 and you're coming back to Indy and able to keep the series alive with that. To go down 0-2, the reality is that's what's fully expected anyway, just given the fact of how good OKC is on their home court, how good they have been this season, and that they are the better team overwhelmingly. But I think it would be critical and go a long way for them to pick up one here this weekend.
Scott Agness, Fieldhouse Files, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Have fun in Oklahoma City and bring back a win of one of the two, okay?
All right, appreciate it.
I was like putting that on the reporters. Bring one back, James.
So I don't know if he's in charge of that, but shout out to Scott on the ground giving us the reporting. I meant to tease him because I'm usually he's my Caitlin Clark updater as well. But
I know I was going to ask him if he had a Caitlin Clark question for later today. I don't think maybe anything too earth-shattering there. What I saw Pete just brought this up in the YouTube chat. Do you think the Pacers go zone at all?
I think they could do some things to just switch up the look here and there, but I don't think you change your entire identity for entire series, do you?
I don't mind that wrinkle, to your point, Jeff, if it is...
Because, again, the Thunder haven't shot the three well.
Yeah, a little bit of a twist, but maybe not your entire philosophy. I don't mind that at all because a team that good offensively with a guy like SGA, you have to give him different looks, and so I would expect to see some zone at some point. But, again, even with the zone, the downside to it is you're usually out of position when it comes to rebounding, and rebounding is a weakness already.
I can see Hartenstein getting about 7 of them.
Yeah, so it's some give and take with everything.
That's the one thing that's got to change. They struggle against Cleveland. They struggle against the Knicks, especially just giving up those offensive rebounds, those second chance points.
Yeah.
This team will kill you if you do that.
And I don't know if they will change. They can't change, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are who you are at this point in the season. It's just, can your flaws be mitigated by whatever you do really, really well?
Thank you to Nick for pointing this out. And I have no idea the logistics behind this, but we've got to get the Larry O'Brien trophy up on the JW Marriott, right?
Something up there.
What's
Is there
up there
nothing
now?
up there right now?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, at
I
the
just
very
assumed
least,
like Tyrese was on the side or something like that.
At the very least, you would have had that up there. What? I mean, let's just say you could have had that up there Tuesday through at least Game 4. Sweep either way. I mean, that's 10 days up there. I mean, that's I would think that would be worth the time it takes. Yeah, that's a. I mean, again, I know nothing. Nick said he just drove by there and there's nothing up there. We got to get that. We got to be believers.
I need to see a 20-story Tyrese Halliburton is what I need to see.
Is there? Yeah, so there's nothing. I mean, there's not even like a Pacer
Nothing.
Logo.
That I've seen. But I haven't been there for a day or two, so I can't say for sure. All right, let's check it down. Kylan, you ready? Well, no more sleeps, Kevin. We've got that going for us. We got to figure out how to pass our time for the rest of the day. But at 8 o'clock tonight, the network coverage begins here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. At 8:30 or sometime just thereafter, James Boyd, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers will tip it off for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. What's your estimate of the actual tip time for that game tonight?
8:37.
Kevin?
I was going to say 8:41.
I'll go middle, 8:39. How about that? See what happens tomorrow.
Yeah,
Kylan, you got a guess?
Man, it's going way later.
You
I'm
think?
guessing 8:45.
So if you go
Do they
Price is
announce
Right,
every
though.
player on each team, or will they just do the Thunder players tonight and then all the Pacers players Game 3?
My hot take is if you don't start, I don't want to hear your name. It's fine. You haven't heard it all year.
Damn.
But everybody gets recognition for having
Do
been
these
part of the
bench players
journey.
not matter?
They do
Wow.
matter, but they're all grown men. You know you haven't started all year. Your mom doesn't have to hear your name called in the finals when you're in the finals.
Man,
Start the game.
shout out to Mrs. Bradley or Mrs.
Nah, start
Caruso
the
or
game.
somebody
Start
here.
the game.
8:30 is when they say it will start tonight, but I think it'll be a little bit later on than that, and we'll tell you all about it tomorrow morning here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Meanwhile, there was basketball played here in the state of Indiana last night. The Indiana All-Stars tuning up for the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star Series coming up this weekend. The juniors outlast the seniors 117-114. Luke Ertl with 36 points to the surprise of no one in this room.
Yeah, the Southpaws good at basketball. Again, off to Purdue coming up in 2026, so we get to watch him out Mount Vernon for another year, as we heard earlier in the show. Thank you to Matt Martin for calling in from the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Mount Vernon will be part of the Hall of Fame Classic coming up this year. So Indiana-Kentucky All-Stars tomorrow night, Lexington Catholic, Saturday, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. If nothing says in 49 states it's just basketball, like those two different destinations, that's all you need to know.
The Washington Mystics were the last victim for the Indiana Fever. That was the other night. They won 85-76. James, I bring that up. It was the first and only game they've won without Caitlin Clark. She'll be speaking to the media later on today about the status of that injured quad. What do you expect to hear?
Not much, to be honest. She'll probably tell us what we expect to hear, which is you're making progress, but you're not there just yet. She has already been ruled out of the Saturday matchup against the Sky, and I believe she'll be reevaluated on the 9th, which is early next week. So just she has to talk because she's obligated to be honest with you.
All right. We do have another championship series taking place here in North America. It's the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Florida Panthers. Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions in the National Hockey League. Edmonton trying to become the first Canadian-based hockey team to win a Stanley Cup since 1992-93 when the Montreal Canadiens did it. And last night, it went to overtime, tied at 3.
Here's McDavid. Oh, there's score! Leon Draisaitl! The Oilers win Game 1.
I've watched a lot of Stanley Cup hockey in my lifetime, been to a bunch of those games, and it is amazing to me how often when you have teams that continually shift lines, you have players coming on and off continuously, it's always the big stars that make a difference, and that was no two bigger stars in the game than Connor McDavid getting an assist to Leon Draisaitl, and your two big guns come through in the clutch.
That's what you need from your stars, and Connor McDavid, best player in the world, he's missing that Stanley Cup. Only thing he doesn't have on his resume, so I'm sure he decided to get that, Game 1 victory.
All right, so that's 1-0 right now. Edmonton kicking off the series with a home win there. The Cincinnati Reds losing at home yesterday. They lost to Milwaukee. 9-1 was the final score there. Cubs were on the road. They got shut out by the Nationals. 2-0 there. Cardinals and Royals were postponed because of rain. The Indians got a win on the road in Memphis, 10-3. They will play again tonight against the Redbirds at 8:05. And Kevin, you and James will be heading over to West 56 a little bit later.
Yeah,
on
a little
today.
bit of afternoon news here as we await Game 1 coming up tonight. Colts will have their second open OTA. They actually have had, James, 3 OTAs since we've last seen them?
Yes.
So there have been, we'll see if there's any sort of updates or availability or anything like that, or if the starting reps for some reason will be different for Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, but that will be later today. Also, Caitlin Clark will meet the media for the first time in over a week. She, of course, has been sidelined with that quad injury. This does not mean she's back to practice. It does not mean she is going to play anytime soon. She's definitely out for Saturday night, but we will hear from Caitlin Clark later today. Again, that reevaluation on her quad injury, supposed to occur early next week.
All right, coming up in a moment, Marc Kestecher. Yes,
Can I add one?
of course. Oh, breaking news.
Yeah, I think it's worth a check down. Shout out to caller Frank. Check out the JW Marriott on Monday.
Oh, Frank. With some news there. Good job.
Is that just a tease, or is there anything more?
Just a tease. They're working on it this weekend, and it'll be theoretically up by Monday.
We figured something would be up there. Just
Pacers
I think it's because
or
you said that.
NBA Finals logo, Pacers paraphernalia?
He didn't give anything more.
That's a true tease. I like him. Maybe I'll sign him
Did
up to
Frank
do some
give
radio.
a last name, or is this just a pen name here?
That's a good question, too. He just said, I'm Frank.
Kevin's trying to
and
go
check
find this
Monday.
guy. Tell me.
I mean, I guess you wait.
I need to
guess
know.
maybe you're waiting until the series shifts, but I don't know.
Yeah, wait until they get back to the crib.
Yeah.
I want to know where they make those things.
I'll tell you what, if you don't get game 1 or game 2, that thing might not be up on the JW very long. You got to put it up now.
Kevin, I don't like that. I don't like that vibe.
Well, am I wrong?
I don't like that vibe.
Am I wrong?
I don't like that vibe.
I got to be a realist here. You got to get game 1 or game 2. Come on.
We're going to get the NBA play-by-play voice at ESPN, Marc Kestecher from Oklahoma City, next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I'm so full of optimism and excitement right now. No game has been played. I know that the world is betting against the Indiana Pacers, but this team is just finding ways for the last 3-4 months.
They have. I mean, the last 3-4 months, they've been one of the top teams in the league. So, obviously, all that goes out the window at this point. You got to just go out there, roll the ball out, and play.
Yep. We're going to be joined now on the Payless Liquors hotline by a really good friend of mine, somebody I go way back with, and he does a fantastic job on the radio at ESPN Radio. He's the voice of the NBA there. My friend Marc Kestecher joins us this morning. Good morning, Marc. How's OKC on this beautiful Thursday?
Jeff, good morning. It's always good to be on with you. And the storms have passed. It was cloudy and actually, I think, below 80 degrees, which is pretty good for this time of year in OKC. And it's actually raining this morning. So inauspicious start weather-wise, but we're looking forward to this series getting underway later tonight.
Marc, appreciate the time. For our audience that has not watched the Thunder very much this season, how would you describe them?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. Incredible seems like a word that's used too often. I'll probably use Rick Carlisle's words from when the Pacers were here in March or whatever day that game was. And he said they're the best team in the NBA, and they have been the best team from start to finish. I mean, they're just, for basketball-loving folk of Indiana, when you see a team play defense like they can play, and that doesn't even start to talk about their most valuable player and, their top three guys, young guys that score, 70 points per game combined. It's just relentless defense. They defend differently, and yet they're all on a string. To me, that's where it starts, is defense in this series, because, Indiana not turning it over as much this year is probably, the biggest ray of light that I see that makes this a real fun series outside of all the offensive histrionics we could see. So I just think relentless defense, I guess, would be the best two words I can come up with to describe Oklahoma City's team.
Marc, James Boyd here. Thanks for making the time on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. SGA, we know about him. He's a league MVP, but you seeing him up close, what separates him from everybody else? And he's putting up numbers we haven't seen since Michael Jordan, which isn't an over-exaggeration. It's true.
It is. And I think what separates him, not only his skill and his ability to get to all the spots he loves, to take shots, to get to the free throw line. I know free throw line merchant has been kind of slapped on him. I think that's a positive, and yet it's also, a back slap as well. But just watching him up close in the Western Conference Finals and doing a smattering of OKC games in the first two rounds, his length, the length of his arms, his shifty move and balance when everyone else would be off balance, creates a lot of that contact and a lot of that foul call. And when he gets to the line 7, 8, 9 times a game, he kills you there. But for me, it's, just how fluid he is. He's kind of like that, duck above water. I know there's a lot of stuff going on under the water, but it looks so smooth. His game is so smooth and silky, and he just can fade into spots and can hit, from all three levels. I know they're not the greatest of three-point shooters, but he could score from everywhere, gets to his spot, and just makes life miserable for anyone attempting to defend him.
Marc, you've been so intimately involved with the NBA for a long time now, and you've seen the progression that Tyrese Halliburton has made going from Sacramento to here and what he's done here. From your perspective and the people that you work with, what's been the biggest area of growth for Tyrese? What's making him a marquee player right now?
Yeah, I think the easy answer is obviously clutch. He seems to get colder in a good way, when we're in crunch time, when games are getting close, when time is running down on the clock. That's number one. Two, he's always been, a pass-first point guard and is so good at setting up his teammates and really is the offensive engine. He doesn't need to get his own, though he's clearly capable of having 30-plus point nights. And I had an inordinate amount of Iowa State games one particular year, his last year there. So, got a chance to really see him grow from then, which, I rarely can squint and look at a guy in college and say, yeah, this guy's going to be a good NBA player. Otherwise, I'd probably be working for an NBA team in their talent department. But, there was something about Tyrese. Maybe it was the size. Maybe it was the confidence. But mostly it was his ability to set up guys. And he's just gotten so much better at that, especially with this team as they've grown, from a team that lost 57 games 3 years ago, to making the run to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I thought I was giving Rick Carlisle a compliment yesterday when I said, you're getting what does it feel like to to get this team past the same point last year? And I think his response was, well, we really didn't get that far last year because we got swept in the conference finals. And then I said, well, they were all 4 close games. And I think he responded, yeah, but we won none of them. And, that learning process to go through that, come into the next season and, fight through health issues, for the whole team. And then kind of under the radar. I know it wasn't under the radar for you guys, but for everybody else who hasn't been paying attention since January 1st, we got the 2 best teams in the NBA, and that's all you can really ask for.
Mark, take no offense to Rick Carlisle's response because we have him on the show every week, and he dunks on us every now and then.
My hand is raised, Mark.
So
I'm hugging you virtually right now.
I go way back with him, too. I go back to when he played in the CBA in my hometown, Albany Patroons, way back when, after his Celtics years. And so I've known him forever. And, yes, I know that his look of disdain for every question I ask, but then usually within the first 5 seconds of his response, he locks into some of the great answers that we get on tape. So that's the beauty of Rick, is my dumb question ends up being his great response.
Mark, appreciate the time. Last one here from me. Is there any area you point to that you would call a Pacer advantage on paper leading into tonight?
I have 2 of them, actually, in a series that everyone feels like is so weighted toward OKC. Pace, definitely. The numbers when Indiana scores 110 plus and 120 plus, which they've done a bunch of times in this postseason. Can they run this Oklahoma City defense a little bit ragged? That's one. And I think also 3-point shooting, under the radar for the rest of us is how good Indiana has shot the ball from deep. Oklahoma City, that has not been a strong point for them, hasn't cost them at all in this postseason. But I just think, pace, 3-point shooting, those are 2, areas where in a series where it's either even or weighted toward Oklahoma City, I think those are 2 positives for Indiana coming into the series. We'll see what they can do with it.
Is there any kind of advantage on the sideline with Rick Carlisle?
I would say yes, because of all of his experience and all his years and been through it. Marc Daigneault is an incredibly smart guy who was a student manager at UConn and, made his way and eventually linked up with Bill Donovan at Florida and out here to OKC. And he's only 40. He looks even younger. He looks like, the accountant who just did your taxes a month ago, but he has such great command of the game. And apparently just in talking, to the Jim Calhouns and, the George Blaney's of years past, they all identified that when he was young, when he was 18, 20, 22. So should not overlook him. But I do think just on years served, experience, championships won, it's got to be weighted toward Rick Carlisle. But I've been so impressed with Daigneault, and every little mile marker that they go past that benefits the team, having lost series and then had a 7-gamer against Denver. The players have all benefited from that. I think Marc has too. You can almost see a little more confidence in him as well. We have 2 great coaches that will make adjustments on the fly. That is the game within the game as well. We got like 3D chess going on both sides, slightly advantage toward Rick Carlisle.
I can't wait to see you when you get into town next week, and I'll tell you the same thing we've been telling everybody other guests. Bring us at least 1 win home here. That's all we ask.
We will try our best, but we definitely look forward to getting back to Indianapolis and hope to run into you, Jeff. I know I will, so I won't say I hope to. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a golf date on Tuesday, so we'll do that.
Yes, so it'll be like a little 4-hour lunch break for you.
There you go. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good being on with you.
There he is, one of my favorite people in this entire business, Marc Kestecher on the Payless Liquors hotline. Everybody, as he said, the world seems to be weighting this thing towards Oklahoma City, Kevin. Are we just talking ourselves into things to root for here? Or?
We got to give our picks, right, on the other side?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll find out. James, you ready to do that? You ready to go?
Born ready, like Lance Stevenson.
You ready to make your pick, Kylan, on the other side?
Can we get a smothered chicken out of James Boyd before the show's over?
Smothered chicken! Give me some smothered chicken tonight!
Yeah, give me a couple of those tonight. That'd be good. All right, we'll tell you all about it next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Flick and Miles Turner at the end there. 10 hours and 41 minutes, gentlemen. You guys will be out at Colts camp today. At least you'll have something to do there.
Yeah, Colin, that was dope.
She's doing a great job.
Flowers.
Mark might be on vacation next week, too. Kevin, what do you think?
Tell you what, if the Pacers play like James Boyd yells smothered chicken or Kylan Talley produces re-entries, I think Pacers in 4.
I did my smothered chicken for Quinn when I saw him a couple weeks
Was
ago.
he impressed?
He was not a fan. He's like, he gave me a little hand.
Come on, Quinn.
Just needs a little work. That's all. I thought you did a great job.
Now,
I gotta
Kylan,
earn my
for those that
stripes.
missed it earlier, we were curious if and when there would be something up on the JW Marriott, Pacers or NBA Finals related. Could you share with us maybe
She's been tracking it down.
pen name of a caller here?
A little
like Woodard and Bernstein action here?
Listener Frank called in earlier with a little mention that, hey, you should check out the JW Marriott on Monday. Now, why he would know that is because he works for Sport Graphics and puts them up.
Oh, there we go.
Let's go, Frank Hancock. I'm sorry, I have to shout you out.
Wow.
That's amazing. And thanks, caller Mike, for helping out.
All right. So that's a good thing.
Frank didn't reveal his last name, but we're just, deductive reasoning.
I hope Frank doesn't get in trouble for
I used to work with Frank
disclosing that.
Hancock
You
back
did?
in the day.
Really?
Yeah, I used to help out the Colts game day programs.
Wow. Good stuff.
Kevin used to work for everybody in the
I
city.
know.
He's the
How many
city's
jobs
son.
have you
Sport
had?
Graphics, honestly, I don't know if people realize it. Like, they are in charge of so much sporting items. Paraphernalia is the word that I feel like I've said.
Have you
quite
seen them
often
make
today.
these huge 20-story
Well, yeah, I mean,
things?
the JW Marriott, but, like game day programs or just signage in
Right.
general. They do so much for our city, and it's
Because I'd watch that video
great,
on
great
how they
company.
make those things. I'd watch that video.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me any amount of money to get up there.
No, you're not one of those
No.
window washer guys?
No.
No.
How much money are we talking?
James is like,
I love y'all, but I don't love working, so I can do, 1 or 2 jobs and be done.
James is just negotiating now. That's all he's doing. He's ready to go. All right, it's time for the Jiffy Lube stat of the day, brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985. Courtesy Scott Johnston. The NBA Finals, of course, begin tonight in OKC. The Thunder hosting the Pacers in Game 1. The Thunder have the best record in the NBA this season, the best record since January 1st. The Pacers, as we've been talking about, have the second best record in the league since January 1st over the last 30 seasons. The two teams with the best record in the NBA from January 1st through the end of the season have met 5 different times in the finals. The last time was in 2015 when the Warriors took on the Cleveland Cavaliers. That was a pretty entertaining series, James.
It certainly was. I mean, one of the greatest series you'll ever see.
Also, geographically, Thunder and Pacers are the second closest finals rivals since the Eastern and Western Conferences were established in 1970, with roughly 688 miles between Gainbridge Fieldhouse and the Paycom Center. The only finals opponents who were closer to each other were the Milwaukee Bucks and the Baltimore Bullets back in 1971, 644 miles between those two cities. So you've never gotten, that makes sense because East versus West, things like that. But just interesting stuff from Scotty, as we appreciate that all the time. Colin, I feel we should give something away today. Do we have things to give away for people?
It's a game day. We have to get excited for
There was
it.
that big backup because of the giveaway for the Pacers last night. We've got our own giveaway. We've got our own giveaway. In fact, I've got
giveaway?
2 pair of tickets.
To a night with me.
Wow.
Well, not that way.
Oh,
We'll be in the same venue.
Sort of, kind
Does
of,
that
right?
count?
Be careful what you ask for on the
Yeah,
radio.
no,
You'll
not
hear
that.
Kylan's voice.
Yeah.
Not that.
You'll hear her voice over the public address system, correct?
Yep.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, let's go. All right, 2 pairs to go see the Indy 11 women up at Grant Park against
Lexington SC.
Up at Grand Park, yeah. I like that. And you've been up there. You like that venue, right?
I love it. It's a great little spot for the crowd that they have right now. Every seat is a great spot. You can see the whole field real well. And the BYB section will be there if you want a little action and just cheering on the Indy 11 women.
Ooh, I like that. All right, Kevin Bowen, it's getting to be that time. What's going to happen in this best of 7 NBA Finals series?
Yeah, I think tonight is absolutely massive. If the Pacers get tonight, I think it's Pacers in 6. I think it's that big of a game. But I'm going to go Thunder in 7. I just think the overall depth of their defenders and the inability to hunt bad defenders, I think will be the difference in this series. I do think the Pacers can make it more than competitive. I laugh at the Vegas line. I could be laughing at myself for that thought here in a few games, but I really, really view tonight as so critical. I think they ripped the hearts out of the last two opponents by stealing game ones on the road. I think if you do that, it is series on and the Pacers win it. If you don't, it could go rather quickly. But I'll go Thunder in 7.
All right, quickly, James.
Thunder in 7.
Thunder in 7. Kylan?
Sirs in 6. I'd say Sirs. Let's go.
Yeah, the Pacers, the yes sirs.
Yes, sirs. Boom, baby.
I am going to say Pacers in 7. I think the clutch gene comes through, and whether it's still game 1 or game 7, I don't care. Just get it. Just get one done.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I tell people all the time, I would love to be wrong. It doesn't really bother me when the team in my market wins. So
I think the longer the series goes, the better for the Pacers as well. Jake at noon, JMV at 3 from the Fisher's Geist Ale Emporium. Have fun.